Alright, hello everyone as you're rolling in. So, yeah, I have been getting a lot of questions about various coins. Um, oh, yes, okay, so, alright, yes, lovely jokes. Haha, fuck you. I don't need you there. Sorry, I don't know who that is. I just video open, sorry. So yeah, that's where, as I said, I wanted to take a moment, since I've been getting a lot of questions on what the hell projects should do. And yep, you're right. There is all those points. Like that is the way teams fuck around and screw things up. So that's where I think I'd talk about some research and what people can look for, because like it can't be saying, okay, well, do exactly this thing, because different projects are going to have different requirements. They're going to have, different tokenomics that'll be incentivized in different ways. I mean, you can just look at any of the latest projects like Triv or Core Vault and see, like, okay, you're clearly some weird fucking shit, and normal consideration doesn't work with you. So, anyway, while I am doing that, let me take a look at that chat here and get into a place where I can actually respond, because fucking Streamlabs doesn't let me. God damn it. Alright, so, in here, hey guys, how you doing? Now I can respond here. Cool. Yes, repeat until everyone broke. And, lock liquidity, dump on public, and your own liquidity. That's one way. You can definitely, well, you can message me about a coin you might want to have your code previewed, or depending on your scheduling, run through our auditing process that we should have ready with in integration with Team Finance about middle of October. So yeah, totally message me on Twitter, best place. Discord also good. But yeah, you did leave out the rug pull. There's also the phantom tokens. So yeah, you could do the public sale, lock liquidity, then dump on public in your own liquidity. But that does work. You do have to somehow have the tokens though, and that's where a lot of folks are learning, like, okay, we need these time vaults and shit, and stuff hasn't gotten terribly complicated. That's why I'm really excited that Team Finance is willing to work with us and wants to integrate with our auditing code, because they got the whole platform that makes that very easy to set up. They have some nice options and be able to lock tokens and everything, but not exactly here to shill Team Finance. I'm working with their project and going to be integrating their auditing code. What I wanted to get into was mostly is because you left out the rug pull and the phantom tokens that would enable you to dump without people realizing that you have those tokens unless they know where to look. But I wanted to get into, because I get a lot of questions on, a project is launching, it needs various liquidity pool staking tokens, and like, what would you choose? How would you put that together? And so that's where I've been doing some research for a while here. Actually, several months. It's what I was doing before I got the whole idea for Audit DAO and setting up the church and everything. What's linked for platform? Oh, okay, sure. I will totally bring up Team Finance and drop that link. 1 second. So yeah, Team Finance program coming out. They already did their coin sale. Yes, it is better than Unicrypt. That's essentially it. They basically took one look at Unicrypt and said, you're fantastic, beautiful, but you don't have a lot of features yet. You really only handle liquidity locking and not really anything else. So, like, what the hell? And not to knock Unicrypt, but they seem to be having their own problems. If you go back in my Twitter history, I had a little bit of a kerfuffle with them where, like, I was trying to reach them, and I thought things were going awry, and it turns out they weren't. But anyway, they seem to be alright. They're just in the process of developing things, and I think they're, a slightly different structured team, probably different size, and Team Finance seems to have fair good team in place, and they're pretty much done. Like I said, our plan from here is we're wrapping up each of our portions, and then we're going to take about 2 or 3 weeks, which will be, like, pretty much put us right at the early October, middle October pipeline, and then help them put their platform out to kind of demo our auditing process with their platform, even though they've already done their pre-sale of the token. So just a heads up there, this isn't like a pre-sale notice or anything. They're already out there, they did that, everything went successfully, and now they've built their platform, or nearly have that done, ready to put that out, and we're going to run our auditing process to deploy their platform, even though technically there's not trading, it's technically not necessary, but it lets us show off our platform, lets us show off their platform, lets us test their platform a little bit, and then, boom, we can turn right around and we'll run Yield Finance through this, and you guys will have, with the next version of Yield coming out, a nice deployment there. So, don't want to make this one too public either, only 10 people on here, but my understanding is Unicrypt liquidity could be unlocked. Yeah, that's something here. You're like, most teams locking liquidity there probably aren't technically capable of this. Yeah, yes, it's going to be a lesson on economics and some of the basics of DeFi. Now, to be clear, not like, I'm not doing like the basic shit of here's how you stake, and here's what an ERC20 token is, and here's what NFTs are, because like, plenty of fucking channels have done that, and I'm sure all of you know what the fuck is up, and I don't need to tell you what things are. Maybe point out some tools that maybe we're all not aware of, and I love that you guys share the tools with each other. I've learned some things in that regard, but this is where I was going to get into, like, if you wanted to have a token, and you wanted to design good staking rewards that would actually drive organic trading behavior to your token, and like why you would want that, and some of the strategies there, because I get a lot of requests on, well, what do you think of this, or what should this project do, and I actually just got messages in the YMFS Discord asking like, hey, could you advise here? I'm like, well, I can't tell you exactly because that's financial advisor territory, and I'm not a financial advisor, and there's laws around that, but what I can do is share my research process on what I would look for. I'm a real big arbitrage guy. I'm really not worried about flipping things. I don't want to deal with that whole headache of trying to track shit down and do that. And so, like, I just go for shit that either is going to give me a solid farming reward on something and or get me a nice arbitrage transaction. That's why I was kind of interested in Trib, and I understand why a lot of people don't understand Trib. But anyway, so yeah, that's where, for the point on Unicrypt, yeah, as I understand it, there's technically a possibility in a few cases with how some of the tokens interact that it's possible to execute something on Unicrypt and maybe unlock them, but like you're pointing out, it's like not every team's capable of it, not every token is gonna be compatible with. It seems like it's not every time Uniswap makes its LP token, so it doesn't seem like that big a deal, but yes, it is kind of a roll of the dice. And Team Finance, from what I've seen of their design so far, looks like they are trying to consider all those various points, especially things like the team token vesting, structured payments, and all of that. So, but like I said, not here to shill necessarily Team Finance. That's just an update on where we are with the Audit DAO work. Like, we're almost there. So yeah, if we don't know, so yeah, moving down the questions. Yeah, the stream is like a lesson where I'm going to go through, like I said, the basics of investing. Understanding is technically possible, so yes, by all means. Yeah, by all means, and thank you for sharing that information. So I'll have a wrench for being so helpful. I like to give those out to folks that are answering questions there. So yeah, in deciding, like, if you're looking through to see, okay, what could be the returns on this token, one most important thing to understand, and to be honest, I was actually starting to type up a message for, you know, the YMFS Discord, since I'm consulting on that design more as a, like, let's make sure your code is good quality here, because I can't really comment on the tokenomics, but I got into DeFi entirely because EFI was so interesting, and in researching EFI, I obviously had to research the rest of the market, and in doing that, I think I figured out some points on the economics of what's going on here. So, that's where I'm going to dig into that. I'm going to kind of go through the research process of, like, alright, if I was making a token that I wanted to sell as some platform. Now, to be clear, I'm not going to get into, like, necessarily what the platform might do, this is kind of just the initial staking liquidity pools. I can do a video later, or if we kind of get through this and there's time, then I can get into exactly what what sort of platform you might have. But that's a big, huge series of videos, I think, actually, since there's so many different things you could do to try to make that money. So here, this is where, let's say that you have, whoops, there we are. Yes, okay. So yes, please. I am doing this for free. I'm working for tips. By all means, please help me out. Everything that you've paid so far has gone into the formation of Audit DAO. That takes a lot of work, and I'm in negotiation with several companies that I want to firm up before fully announcing. Team Finance is one, and Yeld is another that I can talk about. But this is already allowed for paying for the incorporation paperwork, but to be clear, since there's a lot of work to get the partnerships in place and get it formed properly, I've actually, through my church, we're incorporating a charity first, and we're actually structuring that to kind of serve Audit DAO, and so we're going to use that to bootstrap this process. So anything that's donated now is going through to form those two charities. We are going to run that through. Audit DAO will be entirely independent. We will work with Audit DAO through the church charity. You guys will have full control of Audit DAO. You can vote whoever you want on the board. We will just be putting nominations up and figuring that out, and that's what I need to negotiate with partners, because I'm pretty adamant on that process of, like, we're not just going to install ourselves. We're going to have the DAO process. We're going to engage with you guys. We're going to go through a nomination process, let you guys just humbly offer ourselves up if you agree. Anyway, in all of that, I've considered, so I want to make a token. I've got an idea for a platform. We'll talk about that in a later video. Not that I do. Like, hypothetically, I have an idea for a platform. Let's say I did. Let's say I want to make a token that was going to act as my governance or funding token for this, a way to get some stuff in place and use that later. And so the intention is that we'll talk about this hypothetical platform that may come up, analyze some possible ways that, we've got various economic models that, oh yes, thank you, that can make some profit there for another time. That'll be a later video. I'm actually thinking this will be a whole series of things. But right now, if I wanted to make my own token and I wanted to be able to have good staking rewards that would actually generate real profit, because sure, my token could have value as a later governance for voting. It might have value as like a utility token, like you can get access to my platform by having this token, or like synthetics would be that model. Synthetics, the whole SNX thing, like the whole point of it is to say, all right, to gain access to our platform, the process has to start with getting your hands on SNX, and then you can get SUSD, and then with SUSD, you can go trade in that market for, like SETH or IETH. Like, okay, that's cool and all, but, as that is the case, it's effectively a utility token, and that's something that I found that we don't have a good description of. And so that's where I was taking these notes and starting to type things up for talking in the YMFS Discord, and I figured, you know what, fuck it, let's go ahead and do this video and talk about it here. So, hopefully that's big enough for everyone to read. These are kind of notes that I'm going to keep as we're going through, and we'll get into some real research, we'll dig up some real points on, what numbers are we going to look at and what are we considering as a good strategy. So I'm starting pretty basic on this idea of, like, right, what would I look for? So initially, I think we need to identify, like, what type of token are we looking for? Now, I think the economic theory I can describe here will apply to almost everything, but I would say the first one that most people are familiar with would be the pure governance token. So, now to be clear, these are voting rights technically to advise the developers on what the community would like. Now, I want that very clear here when I'm saying advise the developers. So there we go, on community desires. And so again, the whole point here that I'm making clear is that technically, all this DeFi degen stuff that we're getting into is very, very risky. Why is it very, very risky? Because, well, it's safer than a lot of places, because so long as the code is good and everyone is writing it according to the regulations such that they don't have custodial access to funds, then it's actually a safer and more reliable way to invest, provided the economics make sense. And that's up to you to decide. Read your tokenomics, do your research, figure out if this thing that you think will make money. But when you're buying these tokens and they're saying that it's a governance token, you have to understand that technically, except for very few of these projects, if they have a DAO, there's no legal entity behind that DAO. Like, unless they've actually incorporated as a legal entity as some form, hence why I'm making Audit DAO and my church non-profits. We're actually incorporating, and therefore we will have a legal charter. We have a corporate charter. It defines what we're doing, what our intention is, and we're legally bound to execute on that intention. And thus, if we put in our charter, now the church does not have this, Audit DAO will have this. Audit DAO will have the corporate charter stating that they are legally bound to execute on the votes of the community, except where the community would vote in such a way that would violate the further responsibilities. That'll be things like maintaining secure code, ensuring against bugs, against failures, ensuring safe, secure audits. And I actually was advised by someone, I'll save names because I'm never sure who wants to get mentioned, but someone on Twitter did some wonderful research. Thank you very much if you're listening and see this. I've already said that, but to acknowledge that is, like, if you say you want me to say I will acknowledge that. But, like, thank you oh so fucking much for doing all of that research. It was a brilliant idea. Because what we're thinking to do with Audit DAO, and why I'm making this point, I know it's a little long-winded, but I'm making a point here and explaining what's going on in comparison to Audit DAO, what's going on with these governance tokens, what you have to be looking out for, and why I'm saying that it's to advise developers, is that two things. One, unless it's something like Audit DAO, where we're looking to define the code base that we're maintaining as an irrevocable trust. So effectively, we're defining the code as a legal entity in and of itself. Not exactly, it's a little more complicated than that, but that's the point, is that the code becomes an irrevocable trust. That means that in writing the trust, there is a clear definition on what should or should not be done with the code. This already exists. This is literally how things like the Free Software Foundation, Apache Software Foundation work. This is how they're able to be a non-profit charity taking input from the community, but are legally bound to meet certain standards in their behavior and to execute certain goals, you know, in that they have a responsibility to the code. Quite literally, the code becomes a legal entity, it's a fiduciary trust. Well, effectively it does. And they are now, as a charity whose charter is defined as maintaining the irrevocable trust of the code. And it's defined as an irrevocable trust to say, once we put this in place, we can't change this fucking thing. Like, it's just set in stone legally now. There's nothing else. Like, you can only interact with the code in ways that conform with the trust. So that's why you have to be very careful about how you write them, and why I want to do a lot of work, talk to a lot of lawyers, a lot of experts in getting this done. So, good point I want to bring up here. This is where most governance tokens actually fail. They aren't governance tokens, they are only signaling tokens. Entirely the point I'm getting at. Thank you very much for jumping right to the end and making that clear. Yes, that is the whole point here. That's why I'm taking time to structure Audit DAO. That's why I thank you everyone for their patience. Their donations help me us get through this point, because we need to write this irrevocable trust. And we have to consult with the proper attorneys. We really need to get the experts involved and get information from the community and such over time to make sure we write that properly. Because once that's in place, it's like damn near impossible to change. And then the intention is that, as I said, Audit DAO, the Audit DAO charter will be written explicitly to state that Audit DAO is bound to execute on the vote of the community. And we'll have our tokenomics around the voting, the governance token there, and that's where we want to talk to you about what you think would be reasonable. I have some ideas, some other give me ideas, but in that definition, if we write the fiduciary trust properly, then that gives the code protection against malicious actors that might come into the voting system, because it's tokenomics, like technically anyone could buy in. Maybe nefarious whales come in, or those nasty, nasty central exchanges try to come in. If they vote for something, you know, if the community somehow gets corrupted and votes for something that's bad, then the nonprofit, the charity, actually has the legal standing to turn around and say, well, sorry, no. Like, I know our charter says we're bound to execute on your vote, but we're also, and as a primary concern, legally bound to execute on the irrevocable trust for the code. And the irrevocable trust was written such to say, yeah, we don't get to put bullshit bugs in and other slimy shit. We don't get to undercut our auditing standards to let crap flow through. What you're correctly bringing up, and why you should definitely have a wrench, because anyone that helps out share information will get a wrench. Please don't abuse it. Oh, the power, the power. But yeah, what you're pointing out is that a true governance token, such as MakerDAO, uses the governance vote to determine whether a change is made on-chain or not. And yes, oh my god, I love you. You are magnificent. You bring up the point I was going to get at as the other option. Correct. We're going with the corporate route, in that we could technically be sued. We're a legal entity, and that's because we want the irrevocable trust, because while we want to get input from the community, with Audit DAO, we want to make the code the priority. We want to ensure that if something happens with the voting community, there's no way that can be corrupted, and therefore we can always reasonably point to the corporate charter and the fiduciary trust and tell the community, I'm sorry, clearly something's going wrong, you voted for bullshit. But that's where you're bringing up what most teams should be doing right now, which is, because we have the technology, they should be making use of DAO platforms. Like Aragon is absolutely amazing. I love the Aragon guys. I want to wrap up my project here. I want to integrate with Team Finance, get a good solid demo, then go back to them. I've already talked to them before. I hope they still like me from all the antics I've pulled and the spiciness of everything. But I'm pretty sure everything will be fine. We get the demo, we come back, we talk to them, to get good engagement, and thus can kind of model out with them and saying exactly what you're pointing out, which is, all right, what should happen when you have a contract that has ownership and you're going to use a governance token to control that, then you should have a voting platform that actually has ownership of that contract. And you can protect the contract to some degree, because you know, the developer can decide which things in the code they can change. You know, like they can, if they have a tax rate variable, if they have a burn rate variable, if they have some, you know, value or multiple that's used in the bonding curve price calculation, if they've got, you know, all manner of things. They could even put in stuff that either might integrate with a later contract. That there is some complicated ways to do that, and it can be done given some designs. It's not always possible, but you can try to allow for some stuff. Also, you can do things in a way that you can build on, or not exactly add functionality, but put placeholders in place to say, hey, this thing, like, it's I put in an ability here, like say I put in, say I've got a buy and burn platform, for example. And I decided, you know what, maybe we should have like a transfer tax that executes the buy and burn, or some modification of buy and burn. So how about I just put in the code to do that, and then just put, you know, conditional statements around so that it's not activated yet. So like, it's out there, guys. We can put it up for a vote if we ever turn this thing on. I had an idea, and I put that in the code, and, you know, it's just not activated right now. We can do that another time if you decide to. But yes, what you're bringing up and what Aragon can allow for, and what, you know, Coin Breeder's also doing that. So again, two shout outs to them. I am completely platform agnostic. If you've got a good project, I want to promote it. I don't care who. I don't care how many. I'm happy to partner with everyone. I got no exclusivity there, no favorites. Although if you're in early, obviously, you know, you'll get the most attention because you're there first. Anyway, like you said, water. I should drink something. Yes, but what 500 Bitcoin is putting up, or 500 Bitcoin? Yes, 500 Bitcoin. Can you give me one? I am a broke doge on the internet that has spent all of my money putting together a charity. So, like, just saying. I'm kind of fucking broke right now. I'm really hoping YMFS project takes off with my consulting, because that's the fucking rent right now. Anyway, in here, for the governance token, like you pointed out, if you have a proper voting platform, where when you're trading these governance tokens and driving up value, and it is properly integrated in the code like that, so that, you know, there's already things set up such that when you vote with your token, whatever the tokenomics around that are, maybe it's a buyback process for casting a vote, maybe it's a burn process, who the fuck knows? But it doesn't matter. The point is, I'm using my governance token, I'm casting a vote, if that's actually tied to the contract and the voting platform has ownership of that contract and therefore can change the parts in the code that the developer has enabled, and that's an important thing to understand, is that the governance token can't just do whatever the fuck it wants. You know, like if it's tied to the contract, it can only modify those things that the developer has put in the functionality to modify. So, you know, that's where the this idea of the name was more like, 500 startups. Okay, well, cool. Let's launch 500 coins. I'm totally down. If we can hit like, all right, man. Oh, jeez. It'll be a lot of work, and I gotta scale. But I think I could do it with everyone's help. What would you say to Audit DAO trying to set a goal of like 100 coins a year? I think we could do that. I think we can scale out. I think if the donations are coming in, the fact that we're tax deductible, so you know you don't have to liquidate your crypto into fiat and pay the state. You can just pay us to scale out and do more work, and we'll have a governance token that will be, well, it'll be advisory, and in the advisory to the board of the charity, you would be voting for integration further. But that's also where we need to have the board of the charity, because, you know, we need to be able to tell the community, like, sorry guys, you voted to break the law, so we're under a legal obligation to say no and educate you on why we can't do that. But thank you. I'm glad you love my content. I appreciate it. I am a Doge, and I like the head pats. Head pats from humans are very appreciative. Also, tips of various tokens and cryptocurrency to keep me alive is also very good. I don't sleep much. You're right. Sorry. I don't just sleep much. When I do sleep, I just kind of keel over, and I'm a log until then. Anyway, so yeah, like 500 Bitcoin is pointing out, unless you got an actual voting platform that actually is integrated with the contract, and unless the developer has actually put code in to allow you to change certain things, or they've gotten really fancy, like some of the advanced stuff out there, where there is the ability to add extra functionality, like extra liquidity pools, some extra like integrations with other platforms, things come out, then the governance token is just technically advising them. So that's why I'm just going to leave it as like governance is mostly advising. So let me just say most are voting rights to advise developers on community desires. You know, less integrated with an actual platform, they don't actually do anything. And unless there's a legal entity behind it, like a corporation, with a charter saying that they're bound to obey the votes of the community, hence why I'm doing Audit DAO the way I am, with a proper incorporation. Like, I'm not just doing it to get the tax-deductible donations. I'm doing it because I can put together the structure to say, we're making the code a fiduciary trust. It will have its own irrevocable trust on, irrevocable trust on what it wants and what standards it has. We'll make sure as we build over time to get all the proper legal points in place, hence why my church is stepping up and incorporating a charity to bootstrap this, so we can, you know, give you the option of the tax-deductible donations, we can get some code out there, generate some value for you guys, and hopefully generate some in for us, and also, I'm at like 23 hours of no sleep. You know what? Hey, if you're feeling fine, then go for it. Just so long as you're not groggy and you're not causing problems. We know everyone's weird, so this is, generally the geniuses are like this, so what do you want? Anyway, that's where, like I was saying, they're, in this case, most are just the voting rights to advise them. Audit DAO is getting formed such, sorry I'm repeating myself, I know people kind of funnel in and I want to fill people in, but like, that's why we're doing Audit DAO the way we are, that's why it's taking time, that's why, yes, that's for bear market. Yes, sleep when it's bear market. Unless you have short orders. See, this is why I really like Synthetics. I hate their platform in the regard that the transaction fees are so fucking high. I'm like, god damn it, guys, why? Why does it have to be like this? But whatever. I think they just got a lot of extra code in there that we could trim out to make it a little more efficient. But anyway, yeah, that's why I like those. You can get the iETH and like, oh, well, this is a short on ETH. When I got extra money and ETH is up, I'll literally just buy this thing and just sit on it. Fuck it. Anyway, so yeah, that's where, why I'm saying to Audit DAO with all the legalities. That's why it's taking longer, because I want to make sure we can get all the legal experts to make the advice. That's why my church is setting up our charity first, so that we can kind of bootstrap this whole process and then have Audit DAO be an independent, properly incorporated organization with a proper irrevocable trust and charter to make sure that we're beholden to the code, and we're taking votes from you. We're bound to obey your votes legally as an entity. If you hold a token and you want to dox yourself and we don't listen to your vote, you could sue us. But we'd go into court and we'd either get called out and be like, fuck you guys, you gotta continue this, or we would be trying to point out in the fiduciary trust and explain with the experts of okay, we don't know what happened with the community and why they voted for this, but we can't do that because that would do this to the code, and the irrevocable trust says we can't do that to the code because that would break things. So anyway, so now, like I said, they have no slippage thought, so there is that. Which one? Huh? I'm not sure which one you were talking about if I missed it. They have no slippage thought. Okay, well, I'm sorry. I'll let you elaborate and come back to that, or we'll get into these. So, again, token type, governance. We spent a lot of time there. Let me get through the next one. From governance, then I would say that there is utility token. And utility token is exactly that. Utility token, it's things like Dext, Arco. It's a token that, yep, you either need to hold or spend for a service, or for access to a service. And this is why things like Dext and Arco are a perfect example of what's going on. Oh, yeah, they have no slippage, though, so there's that. Yes, you're right, there's no slippage on their transfer, so, I don't know, again, that's why they don't say they're terrible. It's like, oh god, I fucking hate dealing with you. Your transaction fees are always so fucking high, at least on the minting and the burning side. You're like, god damn it, it's hard to get into you, that hurdle's difficult, and then it's hard to get out of you. I'm like, ah! There's been several times when I've had stuff in synthetics, and I'd love to get you out, but you're not turning enough profit to overcome this ridiculous transaction fee. But anyway, like I said, I can get into it, possibly help them. I don't know. I'll have to look and see what the hell's going on, and I don't know if I can help them improve it, but I'd like to try to with many people. Anyway, so yeah, utility token, pretty straightforward. Dext, Arco, it's one that you're holding or spending for access to a service. Dext is a perfect example. You hold 5,000 Dext, and boom, extra features become available on Dext. Perfect. Arco, similar way. They actually have tiers based on how much you're holding, and as you can see, the governance token, its price is coming from, and actually I'll make a note here, so yeah, let's do that. Sorry, I'm gonna do, I think it's this? I'm terrible with my ASCII docs. Let me look up my ASCII docs notes. Sorry, I'm terrible with this stuff. So, technically, I write most of my stuff in ASCII doc. It's just been a fucking while since I've had to write something like a course, like any course material, or, what is this? We should have, there we are. So I'd write like a course material, or any serious marketing brochure, or anything like that. And why are you being such a horrible bitch, computer? I need to dig around. I think I've installed too many things. But let me go ahead and bring this up so hopefully people can see. Okay, so yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Pardon as I have this handy, because I do actually want to design this properly, because I'm hoping to produce this somewhere and post it. So there we are, document header, and right, it was an equal sign. That's what I was forgetting. Alright, so, types of tokens. Here we are. Are you like a dev and a lawyer? No, well, alright, I'm not a lawyer, because I never actually sat for the bar, and technically never went to law school. Technically, I never went to anything above high school. I actually tested out of high school, because it got in the way of work. At a certain point, I just had so much IT work to do that I'm like, fuck this shit, you're getting in the way, and I clearly don't need you. I would like to get on with my life. And so I just challenged for a high school diploma and left. Yes, the taskbar is just full. Yeah, well, I don't want to dig for shit, okay? So this is all of my stuff, and I've got 3 4K screens, so I'm good. I actually need to install, shit, what is it? Sections? Tiles? No, not tiles. I don't know. There's a, I think the Paradox Software. No, not Paradox. The other one. The guys who did Stardock. Stardock Software has a bunch of interface modification changes, but I never cared about Windows much, so it's just most of my gaming PC, so I just haven't gotten to that. Anyway, yeah, happy to answer questions. I work in a lot of this. Okay, so that's where I know some of the regulations around. Yeah, that's section headings. Where is lists, breaks? There we are. There's lists. Okay. So yeah, I know some of the regulations around financial stuff because a lot of the work I've done in development is financial systems. So that way it's like I got fucking. I just have to know, you know? When I'm writing code, I gotta know if a design is gonna be legal or not. I gotta know what regulations I have to hit for security concerns and all that stuff. Oh, no, sorry, go ahead. You know what? Whoever's fucking tipping gets priority, man. I'm a goddamn show like that. You could possibly make certain ethnic jokes about that, but, like, I don't care which one you pick. I'm happy to do that. Like, I'm a dog. I like treats. My treats are crypto. So yeah, happy to answer those questions. But yeah, that's where I know some of those points. Also, I've done some law enforcement consulting, either investigatory work in IT and some community stuff involving social management, especially work around penetration testing. Mostly physical. I don't want you to think I'm that badass of a hacker. Like I'm not. I don't. I design systems and I write basic code. It's not that big a deal. It's like I don't know hacker level or anything. Mostly I was in the social engineer and did physical penetration testing and process penetration testing to try to figure out how like either actual burglars or employees would be able to subvert a security system. But anyway, so that's yeah. Let's go ahead and get back to this. Thank you very much for letting me go through and telling me to get back here. Oh, I have a galaxy brain. I don't think so, but all right. Well, the galaxy brain needs like various nutrients to keep it going. If you'd like to let me grow my brain with more lion's mane mushroom and more coffee and more other nootropics, then please tip. Anyway, here for governance. To get back to the point, as you pointed out, let's talk about this. Let's tell you, why does a governance token have value? Why is this worth a thing? Why the fuck is YFI worth $44,000? Is it because it's Andre? Kind of. The price of the governance token, that is coming from the ability, or I should say the access to influence the market. That's it. That's the whole thing. There's nothing that special going on here. There's nothing like you're not getting some crazy profit scheme. Any staking strategy around that is just purely that, you know, like there's nothing. Yeah, that's basically it. Like there's no utility to the thing. There's no profit scheme that directly comes from it. Now that's where I'm going to highlight that as we're talking about these. Now hold on, let me be clear here. As we're talking about these, I want you to understand that there could be a lot of overlap between them. So when I'm talking about the different types, please don't think that they're like mutually exclusive, okay? So that's why I want to be clear, and I want to set a misconception of saying, oh, you know, okay, if I say something like, if YFI says they're a governance token, then they can't be these other things. So, to be clear here, is that things like YFI, YFL, that stuff, there can be multiple cases, and we'd have to get into the tokenomics and actually see what gets developed. And that's another big thing, is that, yeah, they derive value from fees, and that's, well, kind of. See, that's what I want to talk about, is that they're not mutually exclusive. They can overlap. So I guess I'm talking about categories of tokens, and depending on how a token's designed, it can tie into other things. So, well, sorry, then I may have misspoken. Thank you for educating me. I've heard a lot. I haven't really looked into YFI, because, like, they're out there, they're trusting, so I don't give a shit. But I'm looking at new stuff and trying to keep up with what's coming out. Not to knock them, it's just like I'm focusing on what's out there. Yeah, let me mention on that and just wrap that one point. So yes, if you're educating me on like YFI is intended to be governance, so be it. I had heard it was, but I'm not the authority there. YFMS. Alright, so people are asking, and clearly to do that, YFMS are still getting into the tokenomics, and we're having a meeting tomorrow afternoon, and going to go through the final tests and the code and everything, and we'll be talking with the developer on some of the like what they're putting in and making sure that's all in place. And that's where we're kind of what motivated me to do this, because I was getting requests on, well, what should the staking be for YFMS? And that leads to, well, what is the intended purpose of YFMS? And that's where I would like to point out also in going through this that technically what is the italics underscore? Technically, there's a lot of room for these. So, like, right now, and I'll get through some of them and I'll call it out, like, which one's YFS, but that's only a matter of, what is it now? What is the token during a staking phase? And what is, what can the token turn into? And one of the beautiful things here is that we can turn a token into damn near anything. And so, for one, yeah, that's where it's kind of coming in, is that that's why I'm highlighting that we can have a lot of overlap, and it can grow over time. So currently, it's kind of set up as a governance and liquidity pool rewards token on top of utility token for the platform. So it's kind of doing a few things at once, and most tokens are actually doing a few of these at once. So again, let me get through the examples and talk about the price. I'll happy to get through that. As I get through it, I'll mention where certain tokens fall in, but understand that for a lot of them, it's very early, and so they might not have fully realized what they're going to be, all right? So in that case, like I said, we got governance token. The whole point of the price is access to influence the market, period. You are buying this and you are holding on to it because and it has value because you think or are making intention that what you're doing, crazy. Curious what there. Oh yeah, I'll get into some of those. So yeah, that's it's fucking crazy. That's why I love this sector. So let me go through it all. So yeah, price there. You're buying it because you think there's value, or at least if you're doing what I would consider a proper economic analysis of where's the real value of this thing coming from. That's why I really don't like the traders. I mean, sure, great guys, go do your thing. You're flipping stuff, whatever, fine. You're doing your tech trading. You're buying low and selling high and trying to. Oh boy, what the fuck ever, boys. I really don't give a shit. It's annoying, actually, but they have the right to do it. As much as I find something annoying, they're not really hurting anyone in what they're doing, so long as they're not pulling scams. But anyway, that's where, here, if you're doing a proper economic evaluation of, like, okay, so where is the actual, what would be called utility price coming from? As in, not what is the market price that I could trade this for, but if I own this thing, and then leverage this thing in some way, what can I use to generate a profit, all right? So, takes 10 million YFI to change a vote in governance. Jesus, if that's true, holy fuck. Wow. That's some bullshit. To be honest, I think that, I don't want to necessarily say it, but, like, I've looked at YFI and I see the whole thing they're doing. I'm like, okay, one, your big point is that you just integrate with a lot of platforms, and not everyone's at that point yet. So really, you just got first actor advantage. First actor? I can't remember. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. And our first player advantage, and then second, you were able to get the crazy APYs early, because if you look at it now, it's all down to normal. Like you were able to get the crazy APYs early because there was a market niche there that wasn't being satisfied before it was wide open, so you just come in with the first player advantage and boom, you just eat all that up with those crazy APYs because you can start turning a profit much sooner. But once you start doing that, you're filling that market niche, you're equalizing the price differential that exists there, and therefore you're not going to be as profitable. Yes, first mover, thank you. So that way, you're equalizing things, and you're equalizing that price differential. You're kind of relieving that market pressure, or realizing that market potential by taking action, and that easing things out. So yeah, too much pressure on one man YFI. I'm not sure. You know what? If you can contact them, just tell them to point them at me. I am very busy, so I haven't had time to go track people down. And I don't take offense, but, like, I'm delegating to you guys. Like, if you're involved with a project and you're talking with the dev and you think that, they would gain benefit from talking with me, please tell them to reach out. You've got all manner of things to send them. All my messages are open, so I'm happy to receive that. If they just identify the dev and talk about it, I'm happy to go through. Say the opposite. Wi-Fi now has a great team building stranges. Okay, not just Andre anymore. All right, cool. I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff going on there, but that's where you guys can hash that out. I'm going to talk about more on what these tokens are doing when they're getting their price. So again, for the utility token, its price is, well, basically coming from the access to services. That's it. That's literally it. It's not that fucking complicated. Like, why is the price what it is? It's because by owning the thing and holding onto it, or utilizing it in some way, like using it through a buyback process, so then you have to come back and buy it again to do the next thing, is, yeah, DeFi first mover is like playing whack-a-mole. AI kind of is, but there's a lot of room to grow, and even then we can do some crazy stuff in code, so I'm pretty sure that, like, it's not even a matter that there's room in the existing market niches, or there's still ways to redo traditional finance in DeFi method, you know, essentially replicating things. Like, really, Curve is just a cast derivative. Like, it's cool that they wrote it in code and everything, but, like, alright, let's be honest, guys, all you did was write a cast derivative here, and it's a cast derivative of a bundle of assets, so, like, you didn't reinvent economics here. You know, Ampleforth, Trib, those guys, like, kind of reinvented economics. That's awesome. Well, alright, Trib just found a way to retool and relate some market economics, so that way, or some basic economics to get a different process building out there. But I'll say that for another video. I actually have folks working on putting together a simulation where we can take various contracts, deploy them on a local system. We can do videos to show, alright, we've got simulated transactions, here what this thing looks like as it spends like the next 20 years doing stuff. Anyway, so yeah. Utility token, it's access to resources. Okay, so from the next one, I'm not even sure what to call this. I guess profit sharing token? Dividend token, I guess. I mean, I'm hesitant to call it that. Actually, you know what? Let's say, liquidity token. Alright? So, let's do that. So, the point of a liquidity token, because to be clear, it's a bit different than a profit sharing token. Alright? So, I want to be clear there. When I'm saying liquidity token, here, I'll put that on the next line, and I'll do the same over here. Sorry, I'm doing a little formatting as I'm typing this up because I'm thinking of putting this out as an article. So yeah, liquidity token. The point of a liquidity token, let's see. That's freaking awesome. Yes, there should be more Sims. Oh, yes, thank you. We're planning that out. I'm not much of a financial analyst in that regard, but I can do the code, and I'm hoping that I can write out the tools so that other financial analysts can help build that out. I'd love to have a nice platform. Like, I'd like to have something like Dex Tools that just has all these simulations that can be run, and for either like a small fee. This is an idea. Like, you guys can have this, or I'm happy to help work on it. But a platform that its token is a utility token, kind of like Dex Tools, but better. And the utility token is quite literally a buyback process where you go buy, we mint the token, we put it on the market with locked liquidity, don't give a shit, entirely locked liquidity, and then you come to the platform, and in there we can have, we can have a interface where you can, kind of similar to MythX or Team Truffle or Truffle Suite Team, where they have some development tools and some like test blockchains out there that they can use. Well, we don't have to run like a whole miner or anything, because we're not really trying to be a blockchain. You know, we just need to simulate a blockchain for code, and we need to be able to respond like that. So there's tools like Ganache, there's stuff we can handle. So we can have a platform where you know, we mint the token, we put it out there, we want to have like a shit ton of these things, possibly even have an EFI version of it, so that way it'll have infinite liquidity, and that way this platform can just keep running forever. It's out on the market, you go buy it, come back, you then pay into the platform, and probably a model for like number of scenarios, or maybe number of simulated transactions. I don't know, we'd have to work that out and see what the cost is for doing all the work, but you could pay the token back and then pick from a menu. Like, we'd have, like, all right, if you've got your own simulation you want to run, here's the scripting language. We've got the lesson on how to do that. We've got some samples. You can easily take some templates and put that in. Maybe we've got a nice form interface that if you don't want to bother writing the scripting and learning how to do that, we can give you some templates to easily put in some basic stuff. And we can stage, because fuck it, it's all the code's on the blockchain. We can literally pull it down and do whatever we want. So we can stage up a blockchain with whatever the hell you want. Like, do you want to see how different contracts out there already interact? Do you want to see different coins in place? Like, just pick the menu, boop, 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 boop. Boom, here's your blockchain. You can play with it, and we'll go ahead and run your script. You tell us how long you want to simulate running that and what the transaction rate is. We can even do some metrics and show you, like, okay, here's what the blockchain normally looks like. Here how it's trended over time. So if you want, we can try to follow that trend forward like another 10 years. And see how that, like, what happens when there's more transactions, more activity, this with these tokens. Can't predict what might come out to change things, but if everything kind of stays as it is, how does it turn out? And that way, people could even, like, traders that could possibly build a reputation for themselves by writing out these simulations and putting them on the network. Like, oh, I'll just put that up there. And guess what? If we have a utility token and you're buying the token and paying the token to run the simulations, we can keep it relatively cheap, hopefully, with the idea that, like, no, we kind of want to incentivize you to run a lot of simulations here. It can easily be like, all right, I want to do something. I've worked out what I want to learn. And it's going to be like, maybe $40, $50 to run, I guess, 4 or 5 simulations. I'm not sure. Again, we got to work it out and see what that would be, because time would also be a factor. Like, how long do you want this thing to run for? Not like simulate out number of years, but like actual processing time. How long is that going to take? And that's where I think in that marketplace with this utility token, we could have one where, like I said, other financial analysts, they could come in and do their, they could write out their scripts, their models, things that they think, hey, if you'd like to do this, here's a bunch of stuff that you can run that will handle this. If you're like, well, do you want to test this contract that just came out that integrates with this other contract? Okay, well, I've got a trading model that pretty closely models what actually happened. Or hell, some people might even go through the work and say, okay, I literally exported the transactions for this thing. Like, Yearn goes on, we're 5 years from now. I'm like, okay, boom, here is the transaction model or transaction log from the past 5 years on Yearn, written out as a script properly. And so if you'd like, you can just pay me a small portion of the fee to use it on the platform, kind of like Amazon does with some of their services, if like you make your own AMI. Anyway, and so we can be like, okay, look, you want to run this number of simulations, it'll take this long to do it, we're going to need to execute this many transactions, probably number of transactions the way to do it. Like, how many transactions are we executing here? Because that would influence everything else. But anyway, it's like, all right, charging per transaction, probably something like set up something simple like, all right, like a tenth of a token per transaction, maybe? I don't know. I'm just spitballing ideas here for what a utility token might do as a real, like, DEX is a nice model, but it's really just I buy and hold this, and then I have access to things. But you're like, okay, what else am I doing with this fucking thing? Like, how are we turning this over? How am I realizing a profit? Like, I literally just bought it, and then what? Like, am I ever going to trade it? I want to use DEX tools. If I ever trade it, I don't have access to these tools and DEX tools. Like, what the fuck, guys? There doesn't seem to be much of a good model there. I don't know. Maybe they got ideas. Sorry if I got a little quiet there. I had to move. But anyway, this idea for, like, an example of a good utility token would be, I need to run that. I'm going to, boom, put that in place. And I got a message in Discord. What's up with the YFMS price? Oh, god damn it. What the fuck are you doing now? I have no idea. I haven't been paying attention. I've been busy working, and then I got all these questions, and I felt like kind of, all right, let's tell you guys what the hell's going on with this. Let me take a look. Any update on this? What do you? Oh, that. Okay, I'll get back to you there. Where was I? Oh, people close in the code. Oh, yes, yes, I am helping them. I'm not sure what's up with the YFS price. Let me go ahead and pull up the DEX tools here, and we'll look up the price and find out together. Same with the entire all market prices. Oh, okay, the whole market's just fucked. All right, that's fine. I mean, it's not fine, but, you know, I don't necessarily need to dig in and try to figure out what's going on at request there. I'll still pull it up, and we'll dig in to see what sort of things we can find. Hair Explorer, and we'll go down. I got YMFS, one of my favorites, and yeah, almost everything's down, so... Alright, that's so be it. Shit. Anyway, so, yes. Here, for the utility token, like I said, we get that model, you could be paying for, like, I want to simulate these transactions in this way, and boom, off it goes. Various financial analysts could do work to say, okay, well, I got these transactions that I've gathered from history, and so you can literally play out the past 5 years, or you could, you know, any combination of that. You could script out some future events. Say, okay, well, I've also scripted out what the next 5 years should look like, following the adoption curve and everything else. There was a full attack yesterday. Wait, hold on. NFTs and DeFi together, next big thing. Yes, I actually can tease something about NFIs that I'm doing with coming up to help with our donations. So, by all means, send them in. Anyone that's sending donations now will actually get an NFT once we have fully incorporated and have finished our first donation round. I apologize, but, like, making a bunch of fucking NFTs for everybody is fairly expensive. So I pardon patience there as we get our donations and we focus on getting things in place. Once we have that, then we plan on coming back and saying, for everyone that's donated up to this point, that send me any donation at all, we're going to turn around and send you a nice NFT as a thank you. And that'll just be a nice limited supply, and that's entirely up to you guys. So that's one point here is still working that out. It'll likely be, you know, a prototype of the logo to say, yes, I did donate, and we'll just give that out to you. So if you want to send in the donation now, then please, if you trust me, I am committing that once we get some more funding in, and we got our first round of donation in, and we have our project done, kind of as a commemoration of finishing this first project in the integration with Team Finance, we'll turn right around and use some of that and be like, all right, here all of you go, nice NFT, thank you very much for helping out so far. It'll be kind of a commemoration of everything so far. And then we'll also be selling more NFTs, but I'll get into a bit of that to talk about it. So right now, there was a full attack yesterday with Dev using funds from the wallet. Wait, hold on. From his wallet, someone noticed and started fudding about Dev is starting another coin to commemorate a monkey in the name of Ham. Okay. Alright, so one point there on what's going on with YFS. Yes, that I think is a clear summary of what is actually happening. I would offer some insight having, like, working with the dev is they have reported that code is done. And they have reported they have completed tests and that, you know, in their assessment it is ready for us to come in and assist. That is where we have said, great, that's fantastic, I got work to do. Part of them was handling some things. I'm just taking time up for a video here to do that, partly because Jeff is asleep and we're having him involved. So, you know, we'll be meeting with Jeff tomorrow afternoon. We have some things to handle in the morning, meetings and stuff that are already commitments. So tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to go through the tests, make any final modifications to code on YFMS that we might need to, you know, modify and fix the test if that's necessary to update them. I don't think there's going to be any problem. I think it's just we got to go through the process, and I'm giving the proviso that, you know, if we do need to make any changes, we'll do that. Once that's done, we'll put together a video as fast as possible, possibly even that day, hopefully the next day, Friday, and then be able to put that out. If there are delays or some problem that we can't get that through, that's why I was saying I should be able to get it out Sunday or Monday, because in this case, I got another thing we're planning on doing our own, like giving an update on the project, or the progress on the auditable library that we've been working on, you know, the whole point of doing all of this, and so we'll be doing the demo then, and hence why the latest might be doing the video on this to show that on Sunday or Monday. But I kind of expect it'll be tomorrow, if not Friday. Anyway, so what's going on with that is, because, you know, they're effectively done, it sounds like they decided to do something to possibly generate some side revenue, experiment with NFTs, and maybe they got a crazy idea. Like, to be honest, I didn't really hear much, but from having tapped them to find out, it's like, well, they're done with the YMFS part so far. They're kind of just waiting for Jeff and I to get back to them, and we're also waiting for Jeff at this point, and we got to do our own meetings in the morning to come back and do all the tests and do the video. I'm sorry that takes time, but, you know, they are only human, so they cannot be like a super no sleep doge like myself. So yeah, that's coming through. And yeah, as far as that, yes, there was somebody fudding trying to claim that they were um, the using fund that the dev was using funds from his wallet, but in the funds from the wallet we could see that their transactions to deposit liquidity. So the dev, as I understand it, I mean, you can find it in the transaction logs, they bought YMFS on the open market like everyone else, and then looks like they took a fair portion of that and turned around and deposited into liquidity. Now, so like, I don't really see much of a problem there, so whatever. Anyway, the liquidity's there, like it hasn't been a major change, so alright, great. Now, in here, for, I'm not trying to like defend it, I'm just giving you insight of where we're working from and coming up. So like here, yeah, like I said, that could be a way to have a utility token. Like here, not a great, I consider this not a great tokenomic model in the, as far as the utility token, if I hold it and I gain access, I'm like, where's the trading activity? If instead it's a marketplace to run these market simulations, I'm paying for a number of transactions I want to simulate, maybe getting a discount rate on, say, okay, load up a commonly preloaded blockchain, you know, so that way I've got some data there that I can work with and test things out if I really wanted to. Maybe that just comes at a discount rate, like, okay, well, you know, we ran the 10,000, 10 million transactions once, and now you can just keep reusing that. Just clone myself. I wish I could. I don't even have kids, so I guess this is it, boys. Like, I hope you can keep me alive. Get some of that, like, young blood transfusion stuff, and maybe those stem cells and other what. Sorry, what? Oh, I like puzzles. The Curse 1 style, I'm not sure. The rare Pepe meme. Oh, alright. Cool. Anyway, where was I running? Right, so, there, my idea for the utility token, that would be an example of how you can have a utility token that would actually have trading behavior because you're paying for the platform to actually do something of value for you. You're paying, you know, a portion of that, or there can be a fee tacked on top, a portion where people that want to offer their own financial analysis models and tools could help extend the platform. They could essentially rent those out. Like, every time you want to use this, boom, comes with this charge in the utility token. And that actually can act as a buyback model that doesn't just drive up the price, but actually, you know, provides you some real utility. Like, you're getting value out of it. You have a reason to sell the token or spend the token back to the platform, and it can help really fund the platform because as an alternative to saying, okay, we've got this economic model that tries to figure out through some, like, arbitrage and reserve and stuff, because, like, what Trib does, what a lot of these are doing when they're trying to base it on having, like, reserves, is that their buyback process is, okay, we're going to do something to try to generate profit, and because we technically can't sell you a security, we're going to work out the economics such that you sell the token back to us, and then we're going to sell you the profit. So it's technically not a security, because you don't have a guarantee on the profit. It's just that that token, we have a permanent marketplace that has an economic model that will buy that token from you on a predictable price scale, which means they're also kind of like dictating what the market does, because you're like, well, why would I ever sell it on the open market for less? Anyway, that's where, like I said, a utility model like a market prediction platform would have utility and would have a nice burn rate, and not really burn rate, sorry, buyback rate, because basically paying the token for the platform to execute the simulation for you would act as that buyback process, because what is the platform going to do? Well, the market analysts are getting a payment in this token, the platform's getting a payment in this token, and thus, depending on how the token's managed, it could even be left up to governance to say, okay, well, these tokens keep flooding into this wallet, these tokens could easily be spent for ETH or any other combination of tokens, and so we can vote. Do we vote to pay some to the devs and the company to keep this thing running? Maybe we have a commitment on a portion that's always going to go to the devs, and then we can vote to, like, what do we want to do with these things? Do we want to burn them? Do we want to deposit them back in liquidity? I would say use a portion to buy, you know, Ethereum and other tokens on the market, and then you turn around and deposit those as liquidity. And then that actually could be a way to say, all right, we won't necessarily, actually, that's perfect. is to say, okay, how does the platform make money? Well, the platform makes money off the profits of the arbitrage, the market for this token with other pairs, and people want to buy this token to then sell it back to the platform to gain access to the services the platform provides. And the token is also being paid out to financial analysts and other people that can give you good tools, good scripts and things to help you with your analysis and such. And so, you know, they would be off trading the token like normal traders because they just got a payday and they need to turn that into something else. Or maybe they hold on to some to be able to run more tests and analyses. So weirdly, you're kind of paying their business expenses. The platform is getting it, but the platform has in its contract that when it buys back the token, it doesn't give that to anyone. It actually turns around to the market and buys a portion of the other tokens that it's paired with in the liquidity pools that it's integrated with, and then immediately deposits that liquidity right back. You know, just figures out, like, okay, I got my utility token, I go to the liquidity pools, I split out over them or look at their return rate, and I find the ones that have a good return rate, and then I buy a portion, like I spend some of this, and I buy a portion of those, and then I deposit back that and the equal amount of Ethereum. And you're like, great, that's perfect. Not only is this going in to get the platform profit, because the platform would hold the liquidity pool tokens, those are locked away, but that can be managed in doling out a profit in that case. Like, I'm sure we can write the smart contract to say, okay, we're going to take back, you know, we're going to be able to realize profit from these liquidity pool tokens. We can figure out what the return rate on this is and say, whatever the return rate is, we're just going to take a percentage off of that and be able to, like, withdraw those, and then we've got fucking ETH. And if we've got ETH, actually, that would be the perfect way. You build the smart contract then to see, all right, so I'll figure out the return rate on having this in here. I will then withdraw a portion of the liquidity pool. And again, this is a smart contract, not the devs. Then I will, to realize profit, to pay the devs to keep this thing going. Because, like, fuck it. It's a business. It's got to fucking operate, you know? It's got expenses and shit. So, where was I? Yeah. That would be where the smart contract to pay the devs would say, okay, well, when the customers sell us back, and we buy back the utility token for the purpose of them being able to use the platform and use the service, and we can even look at the price of the token and correlate that to what it costs to do things. So as the price of this thing goes up, you need less and less of the tokens to get the job done, you know? Anyway, because we're effectively setting the price. Like, we will always buy this back, and we always provide an actual service that has this real-world value because it costs this much to run the fucking service for you guys. And then, like I said, it will, on doing that, go back to the liquidity pools that it has access to. It'll buy the necessary tokens to be able to then turn around and deposit all of that back as an addition to the liquidity pool. It then will have the liquidity pool tokens. It can turn around and, as initially as part of the, you know, yield farming process, can say, okay, well, I'll stake that into my own yield farming contract so that I'm going to get my own tokens. But what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to keep, basically, when I get rewards from my own yield farming, I know it might sound weird for the platform to get its own rewards from the yield farming, bear with me, because this would actually, like, seriously drive up the price, because what would happen is the platform during the yield farming phase, where hopefully the product is in place, or as a model for how this could work, would actually stake their own liquidity pool tokens, then, creating velocity and utility. Thank you. Yes, exactly that, because they would stake their own utility pool tokens. We would have the smart contract to say, yes, liquidity's locked technically, but it's locked in the staking contract that you guys are also deposited into. And the profit in the utility token that is generated here, and that's why we want it to be EFI, so that it can just go on for infinity. You know, we'd like this thing to be able to account for it. To be honest, I would just basically make shit. To make the pricing easier, I would probably just make a fucking turn Ample. Oh shit, that's it. We just do this with Ampleforth. I don't even make a fucking token. Alright, or we just clone Ampleforth and call this, Alright, I guess I am doing a token. Alright, I gotta finish the Audit DAO process, and I guess I got a token to sell. I didn't mean to, but it's exactly what I want to do, and it's actually perfect, because this is a way... Oh, shit. This is how... this is how I create a self-funding charity. I just realized it. Thank you, guys. I didn't realize I was doing this. Okay, hopefully no one steals this in time. I think it'll take time to figure it out. But, okay, this is like step fucking one, because this is how we make the charity self-funding. Because we provide this service, and we're not, like, we can sell a service, we can do this. Alright, ample filth, alright, fine. Whatever, we'll talk about that later. The point being is, we need EFI in this case, I think, to make this thing have infinite liquidity, because we need it to go on forever, and we don't want it to just mint stuff all the time. But that's where the basic premise here is, like I said, the platform will deposit its liquidity pool into its own staking farm. In this case, the staking farm can kind of go on forever. Like, there's no need to end the yield farming in this case. Like, just do it, boys. Because what it does is, when it realizes the profit of its own utility token back at us, I'm sure, yes. Well, and I'll do the whole thing. I mean to do a video on EFI. I really need to. But yeah, when it gets the yield farming reward of its own token back to itself, again, that's locked up and managed by the smart contract, but what it does is like every so often it just withdraws those, and then turns around and does the exact same thing and says, okay, well, I'm going to treat this exactly like someone bought my service, so I'm going to go back to my liquidity pools, I'm going to go across the liquidity pools, buy the tokens that I'm paired with, and then deposit that liquidity back, which will give me liquidity pool tokens, which means I'll deposit that back into my staking yield farm, or my yield farm staking contract, which you guys also can buy into. You also can go to the market, and you just go deposit, and boom, you can get the yield farming. And you'll also turn the profit on, what the LP token is giving you for having that in there on the arbitrage. And if you do that, then if you set that up, then the yield farming should be able to balance out and say, okay, if you build this up and cycle it through, then the yield farming will keep paying you utility tokens, which you then can go back and spend on the platform to run the market analysis that you want to, or use buy back in a voting process to vote for features. And the buyback process, rather than just be a basic buyback and voting process, it can become a bounty process to say, okay, I want this feature on the feature list. So like all those voting sites and stuff, yeah, we'll improve on that and say, okay, if you want a feature, you actually sell us back one of the utility tokens, and that utility token becomes the bounty for whoever does that work. And the point of the charity, I don't have to write it down, I got a memory, but thank you. Yeah, so I'm going to go do all this. I need to go talk to people. But that's where, yeah, when you come back to the voting platform to say, okay, I want this feature, or I want this sort of script for market analysis, or whatever. It's like, I'm not a coder, I'm a trader. All I know is I'm going to run, like Wolf's market analysis, or I'm going to run the team finance market analysis, or I'm going to look at Dex Tools. Dex Tools has a market analysis laid up in here. I'm going to run their simulation and see what's going on there. Well, that's where we can like, okay, well, if you want that, then make a vote for what it is. The vote, literally you're selling back your token. We put that in a bounty pool for that vote, and anyone that comes through the charity and implements that, will go through, confirm that, do a review, make it clear to everyone. The charity will take a vote from you guys and like, okay, do you think this is good? Does this satisfy this other bounty? Does this satisfy the requirements of the bounty? If it does, great. We put it on the platform and boom, gets it. Maybe if we can find a way to make that automated, then we can just turn that out. Beautiful. And then, yeah, that basically becomes where, like, look, if you want to use the platform, you're going to have to buy in initially and help provide liquidity to start off with to get this whole ball rolling. And we're going to have to run that long enough that we can generate enough returns. Because ultimately in this process, as it's doing all of that, that somewhere in there, like when, actually, to be entirely honest, when we're selling back some of the tokens, to get the other pair, because that's effectively what happened, is it would go through and be like, okay, I'm going to spend my utility token to buy the other pair. So I'm going to buy the USDC, I'm going to buy the USDT, I'm going to buy the TUSD, I'm going to buy whatever the hell is paired with, and we can start building that out and just pair with a bunch of shit. Just keep adding on, like, more and more shit. Like, hey, what else is turning to profit? We'll just slap that liquidity pool in there. We do not give a shit. If it stops being profitable, also do not give a shit, because fuck it. We're just there. At a certain point, we can just decide something's not profitable enough and just pull stuff and move on with our lives. But either way, it can look for, like, the top 10, or actually all of them. We just go across all of them. Like, all right, let's just spread my profitability of my token across this whole thing by buying back the various pairs, depositing the liquidity. That's going to generate the return and get the others. But when we do that, we just say, okay, the business, or in this case, the charity, does need operating capital to run this thing, and we would like capital to do further work. So we're going to figure out a percentage when we spend this and go like across all the liquidity pools and say, all right, we're going to spread this out. We're just evenly going to distribute the buyback across everything we're integrated with, and you guys can vote on what we integrate with. Then when we buy that back, we'll just literally take like 10% off everything, like every single thing that buys back, and then send that off to the wallet, or the multi-signature wallet that becomes the treasury basically for the charity. And now that's locked up there, and you guys can advise the charity through the voting process. We're still bound by the legal charter to say, okay, now that you have funds from that, we'd like you to do these other things. And so this is a way you guys, I think, could have a tool. We have a real utility token that actually has not just tokenomics, but like a real, not just economics, but market around it. Like, this is the whole fucking market. And if balanced properly and tuned right, then you guys get a tool that you're going to use all the fucking time. This EFI utility token is able to constantly flow around, and as the platform grows, as we add more features, there's more utility, we expand the facility to be able to like host more servers and build out the data center, then the token will be able to rebase and expand, and we don't have to try to hit we're trying to hit a price point, but as you can see, the price point is perfectly natural, because we just pick, you know, something that we can trade for real world. In fact, we can even leave that up to you guys in the design. We can say, like, hey, what should we target here? And then say, okay, well, we got to run stuff in the real world. So the whole point of all of this is to say, at some point in this process, we're going to withdraw those funds. Those will go into Treasury. Part of that will get, you know, liquidated into the necessary funds, whatever that is, to be able to pay for the infrastructure to run this. But then the leftover is just sitting in the treasury of the charity. And it's a charity. It's a nonprofit. Like, we can't take a dividend here. So you can trust, like, we literally, like, however we do this, we literally can't set a price that's unfair, because we're never taking a profit from this. We're a fucking charity. So if you're not thrilled about, like, oh, Bitcoin's mooning? Alright, I don't think Dex Tools has, does Dex Tools have Bitcoin? I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, that's where it's like, you know, you're never worrying about the charity screwing you or taking too much money, because does CoinGecko have Bitcoin? I think so. Anyway, they're taking too much money, because ultimately it comes down to, like, oh, by the way, anything that the tax we're taking in all of this, that's going to fund the operation of the platform, going to fund us doing whatever we want. So it's like, you got to bounties. If you try to get us to build a feature and the vote doesn't pass and we don't end up doing it, you can still go to the bounty system and directly pay somebody to do that. So, sweet. Bitcoin mooning. I'm not sure. Is it right now? Or is that a joke? Yeah, I'm not sure that's the case. I think we might actually be, I don't know, maybe we're a little behind here. I know this one's delayed. Anyway, so, yes, you need to define your goals. I had to find my goals. Oh, sorry. Got it. You're talking amongst yourselves. Part. So yes, part. There's my little hypothetical on a utility token. I just thought of that. I'm going to have to talk to somebody to build that. So yeah. Part. There we go. That's an example of what I would consider a good, healthy utility token with a real market around it, a real economic model, not just some math and buy and burn. Because to be honest, I've been looking at all this shit. I'm like, oh, it's got a buy and burn rate. It's got something like, okay, that's cute, but fucking almost everything out there is basically just some sort of lending platform. Yeah, that's about it. It's all pretty much just some sort of lending platform, and then some sort of tokenomic model that correlates their token to, in some manner, to generate profit. And they're usually simulating the actual utility of the token by buying and burning it. Like, that's not an economic model, guys. That's nothing. I don't even know what to call that, really. Basically, to be honest, that's liquidity pool token. There we go. That's a liquidity token. Liquidity token, that is a token that, whoops, I always say token. A token intended, sorry, I'm a terrible typist. So, a token intended to be backed by liquidity. Typically, whoops, hold on. There we are, liquidity. Then we'll say, and this is ASCII doc, so we tend to have 1 cent per line. But in this case, not quite back to where it was yesterday. Oh, yes, thank you. Clarifying that. So, sorry, something in the YMFS chat. Yeah, coin market cap appears to take weeks to sync with the Etherscan API. Oh, yeah, it's terrible. I think CoinGecko is a little better. DexTools is obviously most up to date, but they don't have everything. So, oh well, they keep pretty up to date and keep most stuff because they're just trying to provide information. They're not listing things. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that's where with a liquidity pool token, tend to be backed by liquidity. Typically, revenue is generated. Oops. And that's where typically liquidity pool is generated by arbitrage or lending interest rate. Alright, so there we go. So yeah, again, that's where, oh god, terrible. I'm a terrible typist. I know it's terrible as a coder, but I have, the problem is my IDE tends to autocomplete for me, so I don't need to type very much. And when I have to do, it's like I don't know how to finish things. Anyway. And this is what you get for growing up on computers. Like, I just, all of this on computers. This is what happens with spell check and autocomplete. It just teaches you how to start words and not how to actually finish them. Alright, anyway, so yeah, for liquidity token, examples of liquidity tokens, that would be what is happening during the yield farming phase of most tokens. And that's where the company, the people launching the product, are actually making their money. Now, what happens with the liquidity pool tokens, where they go, how they're retrieved, that varies. And that's why I got the idea for the exchange, where it's like, look, I'm fine locking up liquidity pool tokens in a contract that's managing them, but they should be fucking managed. Just dumping them somewhere so you guys can trade, like, I love you guys, but sorry, that's not a very great sustainable economic model. Mostly they're then realizing their profit from like, well, I have some tokens of the team and I can eventually sell those. But that's just incentivizing a dump. Like, I don't even necessarily blame teams at that point. Because like, okay, well, how do you get your payday? Oh, you sell some of your tokens. Okay, how about we not do that? How about we actually just realize a percentage of the profits from the arbitrage on the liquidity that's provided? And then we can just leave the fucking liquidity there, or at least a large portion of it, and we can, you know, not dump on the community at any point. Because at this point, I got no, as the platform, I'm not even getting any of the tokens, you know? Like, they're not coming to me, I'm just getting a portion of the profits from the arbitrage, and even then I'm leaving most of it there to continue compounding and generating more. So, like, this platform literally can't dump on you. Like, obviously I would have some of the tokens to be able to work on it, but I'd be engaging with the thing exactly like you guys are. If I even want to, because, you know, I put the whole, like, we put the whole thing up, we're running it, like, pardon me if I take the code and run it on my own. On top of that, we're a non-profit charity, so quite literally, we'll give the code away. If like, here, you want to run this on your own? You want to include this in your build pipeline as a developer? Include this in your test? Boom, here you go. You can go run it on your own if you really want to. And if somebody else wants to put a model around it, that's perfectly fine. But anyway, liquidity pool token, again, the whole point is that's a token intended to be backed by liquidity. This is where you get the various buy and burn models. In fact, this would be also realized through a buy and buy and burn model. So yes, that would be the other way. So like the primary ones that are realizing it through the arbitrage or the lending interest rate, that would literally be what YFI is doing. What Yearn is doing. I keep saying YFI, but it's technically Yearn is the company. So yeah, Yearn is doing. When you're depositing something in Yearns, like quite literally, when I'm going here, not the buy and burn part in that second line of like they're generating revenue from providing liquidity and getting the profits off that. Well, they're in the lending interest rate portion. I really wish Yearn had, maybe YFI has a better interface here. I'll have to check them. YFI.finance. Whoops. Ah, my terrible typing. Am I getting that right? Okay. So, with Yearn, as we saw in what's going on here, like if I look at the dashboard, yeah, I don't have anything in Yearn because I'm a broke doge. You need to send me tips so I have money to trade, and if I have money to trade, then I can do more research and do more trades to get more research, because I can only learn so much by analyzing other people's work. I gotta do shit. So pardon as I try to shake the hat and be like, tips please, so I can keep doing this stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's where I got, tiny little bit in curve there. But again, the whole point here, this doesn't have a buy and burn model attached to it, but this is where, again, the profit is being realized by saying, okay, you stake your liquidity pool with us, we will reward you with more of that liquidity pool. So basically, it's just saying, look, we've got our method for realizing that profit. You're going to be able to get that profit back. And thus it's selling you back or generating that profit for the Y curve. But honestly, like, what the fuck is this platform doing? It's not really doing anything you can't do yourself. Now, it's providing this model of, okay, well, how about you pair your token with ours in some of these cases, but even then, it's just literally just taking that. And it's like, oh, okay, here, I'll go do something with these tokens. And in this case, quite literally, it's the lending interest rate where, do they have the, yes, here they are in the stats. Oh, did they not have, I don't know. I thought I could have sworn that they had the information on, like, where they're actually making their profit, like, which platforms they're integrating with. Is it, it's not the vaults, is it? It's not the earn? I got no idea. Alright, so anyway, in these cases, yeah, they're going off to platforms where they can make money off the interest rate, and they're, boom, sending those tokens in, and basically, helping you realize the profits by kind of pulling out what is the profit on that and providing that back to you either in the token that you offered up, or in the case of the vaults, kind of what it's doing there, or like in the case of these bundled assets, moving them through. In other cases, let me think of a good one that has, actually, you know what? Harvest is a fine example. So with Harvest, Harvest is a good one. Actually, most of the projects out there are like this. But, with Harvest.finance, what they have going on, and Jesus, I need to figure out what is taking up so much. Oh, Streamlabs is over freaking out. Alright, but over here, this is where, especially when you consider the farm wrapped versions, or where you are literally depositing some of this with farm. So like over here, you're depositing farm to earn farm, Well, they're doing something with this fucking farm, you know? Like, that's gotta go somewhere. In the case of, like, pairing farm with ETH, okay, they're giving you farm. Alright, well, where's the profit going from the arbitrage on this pair in the market? Well, if they're realizing any revenue, it's going to them. Now, I'm not knocking them, like, by all means. Maybe they're using it to buy back, you know, they could be using it to buy farm to provide the profit here to then continue this. That's how you can make it perpetual. Say, okay, you do this, I take the profit of this thing, I turn around and buy farm back from this pool as I realize that profit, and then I prevent that farm to you. But that's where, to be clear, unless a platform has that process where they've got this automated arbitrage buyback model, which is kind of what Trib is doing, where they're like, okay, I'm going to go, to generate farm to realize this profit for you, I'm going to go to this farm ETH bundle, I'm going to sell farm for ETH. Yeah, I'm going to realize that profit. When I realize that profit and get farm and ETH, I'm then going to sell that ETH back for more farm to get all farm, and then I'm going to deposit the portion of the farm here to reward you. Okay, great. That's also reasonably good. You know, at least here, there is actual utility being done, you know? So again, the price of a liquidity pool token is essentially, yeah. That's where I should say, this should be most yield farming is, oops. Well, actually, it should be a proper name. No, it's not a full proper name. It's just the name of a thing. Anyway, for liquidity pools. So, you know, there we go. It is most yield farming is liquidity pools, and I don't need to type anything. I don't need to type anything more. So I can say price is based on the profit. So it's realizing revenue generated through arbitrage or lending interest rates. Also could be buy and burn. So let me see. I can trim that down to be this. There we are. So I will say, whoops, profits from, and then I will pardon, you're seeing me type, but you know what? This is me working. And this is where when I am working on something, especially where there's not a good vocabulary, or even when I'm, fully aware of the vocabulary, but I need to work through it, I will actually go through and define a process. Now, from here, it could be buy and burn. In the case of buy and burn, that one's actually coming from, really from price increase through trading. Because that's really what's happening with buy and burn. Like, buy and burn, they kind of say, well, I should say, that's buy and burn. Sorry, let me adjust that. So, buy and burn, really done by reducing supply. And to be clear, unfortunately, this is a problem with them. Yeah, I'll do this. There we go. There's a problem with these guys. They will suffer from hyperinflation. There's no two ways about it. Or, sorry, hyper-deflation. They will suffer from hyper-deflation, period. If you have a buy and burn process, unless it's an EFI token, which can expand its supply, or there's some sort of minting function that can expand that supply, they will suffer from hyper-deflation. In fact, they will quite literally eventually wind down, because as the price goes up, you're going to use smaller and smaller fractions of the token, and as they burn more and more of the token, even if it's based on a percentage, you're going to reach the disapproval of Zeno's paradox, because at a certain point, because we only have 18 decimal points to work with, and because we still got our total supply, like, unless there's something in the math that can like, oh, I've hit the end, and so I'm gonna, boom, readjust everything, which effectively would be a kind of an EFI token in a very crude manner. It would be kind of like what happened with the peso, where They literally contracted the supply and just took a bunch of fucking money out of circulation by printing new pesos and then having an exchange rate from old pesos to new pesos that essentially took a huge number of pesos out and essentially contracted the supply artificially. Well, what happens here is they're contracting the supply artificially, but they're doing so with market activity where they're buying it back from you. So typically in the buying the back process, they're actually using one of the other cases to generate the profits to be able to buy back. So that way they have something to sell you when you send it back. But in the burn process, I'll call this one a pure buyback. There we are. So that's where in buy and burn process, they're doing this, they're setting their price. The price is based on likely profits from whatever the liquidity backing it is generating, and therefore they're simulating market behavior by just executing on that. And so they're kind of setting a floor price in this case, where they're saying, like, look, I can only buy this thing back at a rate that will still turn a profit. Like, I can only sell this thing and take so much out. And whatever, that's going to be driven by market forces. So the pure buyback, so buy and burn is doing that, or can be doing that, and in doing that is reducing the supply. And I'm not thrilled about buy and burn because, like I said, unless there's a check in there for when we start getting down to the lower decimal points, you're going to be trading like all the way out to 18 or 16 decimal points on this thing because we just kept reducing the supply. It kept going up. You kept using less and less for your trades because they're going up in value. And then at a certain point, we'll hit that end and be like, I can't go any lower. Unless they put something in the code to kind of reset that and artificially expand the supply and do that in such a way that doesn't fuck everyone. And unless that's in the code right now, all of these buy and burn tokens that... I'm not saying it's a giant scandal, I'm not saying it's what I'm worried about. Like, we've got fucking years, maybe decades on some of these things. But again, all those tokens that have any sort of burn process that is sending them away, they will suffer from hyper-deflation eventually. They will eventually wind down. You can always switch over to another token and keep going, but, again, this is not going to fucking fly. I'm not thrilled about buy and burn. At least not in some of those cases. I like them when they're minting, hence why I like Trib, but I'll save Trib because that was kind of a fiasco and a lot of people don't understand Trib, and it's taking a very long time to play out and needs more activity. But, you know, we can always build something on top of Trib. In fact, I could probably... Oh my god! Oh, that's it. I don't even need a token. Oh my god. I just built this market research thing on Trib. And hence, you don't give a shit what the price of... Like, the price of Trib dictates this. I just do it based... I just set the price of how much do these services cost based on how much MUSD can I get out of this whole transaction. And thus tell you guys, okay, you guys go buy Trib, and you then sell me your Trib for this platform. I will go through the staking... Oh my... Okay. Alright, never mind. I gotta go talk to people. Yeah, because if you understand Trib, like, I think you guys are understanding Trib, because you see what I'm doing. I'm putting an entire actual utility service that people will find, like, actual real-world value in. Not this market manipulation stuff that's going on here, or this pure money market shit, because, like, I'm sorry, I don't care about this. Like, it's okay, great, it's cute, you can turn a profit, like, it's whatever. Anyone can fucking do that. Okay, great. I'll go talk to the Trib guy. If you guys know him, go talk to him too. Tell him to get in touch with me. They got this idea. I think it's the perfect stage for next stage for Trib. I'm busy. I gotta do the auditing process, but this thing will get some people on, and I think I can work it out. But anyway, yes, it'll generate the market value to keep churning into Trib that will actually drive up the price. Okay, so you guys clearly have tribbed out, and I definitely gotta give a wrench to, like, anyone that's tribbed out, you know? Like, okay. So, pardon if I missed, folks. We'll go through that. Anyway, so what I was saying. So, that's the point with Liquidity pool tokens. That's beautiful. And then we'll just say, you know, like, esoteric. That's all I can say. There's, you know, there's always these weird fucking models. Unique or novel revenue models. Novel, unique token types. Actually, before I get that, I got one they'll put above that for, yeah. And their price is, you know, who the fuck knows, really. You know. Just put down novel or unique economic models. So, yeah. Alright, so, pardon this kind of degenerated into a whole idea. I'm not really giving financial advice. I'm just making the point of, like, well, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just explaining how this shit works, you know? And again, I'm not saying to get Trib. I'm just saying, like, I think I've got an actual service that can be provided to people that you will actually find value in. And if I say, I will only accept Trib for this service, and you look over and you're like, are you telling me that I can buy, like, 1,000 transaction run for 1 Trib? Or, like, a 2,000 transaction run? I'm like, yeah. I'll set it at, like, I don't know, probably a decent model. I'll have to work it out. But, like, you know, we'll run 1,000 transactions per dollar. Go buy Trib. Thought it was a Trib. Yes, I know. I kind of fucked up Trib too because I got busy talking with people and trying to help them out, and so I wasn't able to cash in on the dump like so many people were. But that's fine. I also want to hold it long term. I'm still using a long-term savings account. Novel. It was a joke. I'm gonna. Okay. Jesus Christ. To explain it. It did exactly as it's intended. It's just like Ampleforth. It's also acting exactly as intended. So is Base. So is all of that weird stuff. The difference being is what they're doing is weird and very long term. And hence, its whole, like, Trib's whole point is to be a trader trap. Its whole point is to say, and this is why it kind of fits in the esoteric model, its whole point is to entice traders in, or to incentivize people to trade with it. That's why it's described in the document as a foundational project. Like, I know its intention is to be heavy, to sink to the bottom of the economy, and to become this foundational platform on which you can build everything else. Pokemon Life non-news. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're saying Trib was a joke or you're right from the joke. I'm pointing out is that I'm to explain Trib, and I understand why a lot of people don't want it. I'm not faulting people for it because it's a very long-term play, and it's not an entirely fully realized. Like, it is a fully realized project. Sorry, but it's supposed to be the foundational point of Legos. Like, if you're building Legos and you happen to get one of those big flat pieces that can act as the ground, that's Trib here. You know, the whole intention. That's kind of like what Compound is. The whole intention of Trib is to say, okay, if you can drive market trading activity through Trib, the tax process will continue generating value for anyone that holds Trib. And so that's where I know people think that it's bullshit. That, oh, sorry, yes, no financial advice. So, yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, Trib is legit. Cool. Then, pardon. I won't talk about Trib then. I won't waste time. You guys already know. Let me get into here with this. So, yes, we've got the esoteric. Not much more to say there. Like, they're doing weird things. It's just kind of a catch-all class of, like, look, we haven't figured out all of this yet. Then there's Elastic Finance. Actually, I should say, no, not Elastic Finance. Real currency tokens. And that would be tokens that are intended as a real currency to trade for value. So again, the whole point here of these real currency tokens is that they literally are intended to be a thing that you hold on to. I know, YFMS, it's literally a case of doing tests. Code seems to be ready. Luna's Luna and Mars and everyone has reported that. Then need to test with Jeff, have some tasks to complete in the morning with meetings and such for the Audit DAO, and so we're slated to do that tomorrow or this afternoon. Now this is early, so this afternoon. And then in doing that, we're going to, depending on the results there, we'll then do the video as quickly as possible to get you guys that update, or we will expedite any changes, fixes, whatever needs to be done. I really don't think so. It really was just a matter of, like, real life shit in everyone's case getting in the way. And not being able to properly get things done in time, and so apologize there. And that's why I wanted to insist on proper testing to ensure you guys had a stable platform. So I apologize for having a delay there. I want to make sure it's safe. Hence, I made the decision delay. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, we're definitely working on that. And it is a priority. It's just like got shit to do, and some of that shit is getting things done properly. So thank you for saying that you can't wait and being polite with the eagerness for results. We are working as quickly as humanly possible, without like fucking up other things in the process. So anyway, yeah, real tokens. The price, it literally comes from trading value. Yeah, trading value. That's it. No, price comes from buying power. That's it. That's the way to describe that. So yeah, buying power. Perfect example. If you want an example, see the Big Mac index. It's a perfect example of what's going on. The idea being that you can know that a Big Mac is a reasonably priced product because when you look out across the economy with all the various foreign currencies, can't wait, no bud, no apologies. Okay, where was I? Right, so when you look out across the various economies with foreign exchange, sorry, there's a massive delay and I'm not entirely sure which ones people are talking to. So you guys are friendly, so I'll just kind of presume that, like, you're not, you're just joshing, it's not really an issue. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so their point is buying power. Big Mac index, if you're not aware, it's a very common financial index. It's not intended for, like, serious analysis, but it kind of works out the relative health and buying power of currencies because it was discovered that over multiple markets, pretty much all the markets and all the across foreign currencies, it turns out that the Big Mac pretty much costs the same universally, like as in real buying power. Like it might be 400 of some foreign currency versus, you know, the like, what is it, $5, $6 in the US, but you know, the what I think like 3 or 4 pounds, maybe 1 or 2 pounds, I don't remember in Britain, but it's been a while since I've been there and I've got no idea. But again, the whole point is like, what can I buy for this? How much of this does it take to trade for the other thing? EFI attempts to address that. So, with that in place, again, realize that a lot of these are overlaps, and I'll try to put this together into an article. Maybe I'll kick that to somebody. If somebody wants to volunteer and help do this and like get some credit for volunteering with the DAO and typing this up, by all means, you can learn ASCII doc. You'll have to because I insist on using that. But anyway, so from there, let's presume that we're using a liquidity pool token. Okay, neat. Well, I want to generate profits for my, or I want to generate revenue for my little platform here. I need money to be able to do that. So what do? Well, you know, while we're here, before I close you to save memory space, what is YFMS? All right, it looks like it's on its way up. It's down to 96. Everything was down. So I hope that some of my good news has helped that out, and news that we'll be likely doing demo. I hope some people are seeing that tweet and picking this up or treating this as a dip. So yay. But let's say that I want to sell a token, and in selling that token, I want to be able to offer yield farming, and I want that yield farming. Let's say I've got a nice, elegant buyback model. My buyback model, because I consider out of all of these, out of all of them, arbitrage is perfectly fine. Like, cool, but it's like, why do I need you to sell me to like give me your token to get arbitrage? Yearn isn't doing that, obviously. You're just getting the return rate, but then I'm coming to like, okay, so I guess you're just automating things for me. That's cool, but technically you're not doing anything new or novel. With some others where there's like a, same thing with lending interest rate. Like, okay, again, you're just automating things, and I kind of don't give a shit about that, but whatever. I got other shit I care about. You'll just be other things that I maybe put money in long term, but eventually you're going to equalize the market, and there's not going to be much profit there. So fuck that. I like a good, reliable stream of revenue from actually generating value, not just arbitraging. I mean, I don't want to sound like I have nothing against it. Like Halsey, the guy that I did an interview with yesterday, day before, yeah, yesterday I think. Sorry, the days blur together at a certain point. I totally lose track of like weeks at some point. I just forget that like a few days has gone by. It's a week or two. But anyway, yeah, I don't want to sound like I'm like trying to be offensive or anything, but like, you know, he's Jewish. I love him. He's great, good friend. Work together on things. But it's like, okay, if you want to go with the stereotype, basically all of this is just like robo-Jewing. I mean, I'm not saying that to like judge them. I'm just like, okay, so everything you're doing is just exchanging money back and forth. You're lending money. You've got economic models around Like, but effectively, even the buy and burn or the pure buyback, all you're doing is trading money around, loaning money, getting your profit off other people needing money, and getting that from you in some way by essentially buying it from you in exchange for things. And so, like, okay, that's great, but I got other shit to do than like robo-jewing. So that's fine. You know, RoboJew 3000 is saving the world. We're all very happy with RoboJew 3000. RoboJew 3000 is doing a fine job for us, but I got other shit I want to do. That's why I'm very usually interested in the real currencies, like EFI. Like, I think that's going to change the world. And I spend most of my time over in the esoteric shit that's doing strange stuff, hence, like, Trib. We just came up with a model where a liquidity pool token could actually realize real profits and not go through this pure, you know, arbitrage, money lending sort of stuff that I just don't really have an interest in. And it basically, when I was talking about the market, I was designing a governance, utility, and liquidity pool token all in one. Again, that's what most of it is. What are your thoughts on RPEPE that have a 2.5 transaction burn rate? I don't like burn rates. I understand what they're doing. I'm not saying it's bad in the sense of, like, it's a bad economic model. It will function. It's relatively stable, and it will keep driving the price up as it does its thing. But as I say here with, you know, the buy and burn models, even if it's a tax rate where it's burning on transactions, like Chad's does, or like you're describing with, you know, RPEPE, like, okay, great, you're burning. If you don't have a mechanism in there to expand the supply, then you will suffer from hyper-deflation, in the sense that you're going to get to a point where either the supply, like the value of the token is going up so fast because the supply has contracted so much that any market movement is significant. Like, at a certain point, these things whittle down their supply to the point where, like, literally any trade is effectively a whale taking action in the market because there's just not that much around. And then you end up with the case like, okay, well, if anybody does anything, the price goes up for everyone else. Or the price, like, jumps somewhere else, which then drives them to do something else. And that means it either, like, tanks or skyrockets continually. So it's going to do these huge oscillations as that happens. And then at a certain point, you're like, well, I'm just going to hold this thing, because if anybody sells and buys, then it jumps again. It just goes through a swing set again real fast. It's like, why would I want to be the one to do that? I don't need to realize these profits yet, so I'm just going to hold on to it. And at a certain point, like, it's going to get down to such a small number of people holding it because we've whittled down the supply to the point that we literally can't start dividing it up. I mean, everyone has to remember, we've got only 18 decimal points here. Again, unless we have something to, like, account for that shift in the decimal point and effectively expand the supply, or essentially expand the supply in some way and do that in a way without diluting liquidity or, like, anyone's value in the market, then, you know, fuck them. They're going to die. Like, I'm not... It's going to take a long time. I don't want anyone freaking out. Like, don't run off and sell them. Like, they've got years and years and years and years to go, and they can always migrate over to something else. But, like, I just don't like burn. Will then not be the same case for YF Beta and YFS with their burn. That's the same case with everything. But there's no permanent solution. That's why I'm trying to check this and say, like, while I don't like it, I only don't like it because it has maybe, like, at most, a 20 or 30 year lifespan. You know? So, if you're content with this thing turning profit for the next 20 or 30 years, fine, go right ahead. I don't give a shit. But it's no offense, I'm trying to think on longer time rates here. So, you know, with those tokens being able to turn a profit for the next, like, 20, 30, maybe 40 years, cool. If they started off with a high enough supply, they could very easily likely get up to, like, 50, 75, even 100, 150, 200 years, depending on what that burn rate is. Especially since the percentage, it's not rocketing down, it's a Xenos paradoxing down, in the sense that it just keeps whittling away a percentage, and as it reduces in supply, that percentage that is whittling away is also going to reduce. So it's going to be a slow process as it does there, but it will eventually reach the conclusion of Xenos paradox that will... where it'll be like, okay, I've reached the end of 18 decimal points. I now need a 19th decimal point to execute your transaction, because unless you're going to send them everything, I got to shave some off. And if I'm going through a buy and burn process, I'm going to get to a point where it's like, okay, I got to take my percentage, and dunk, the percentage I would take would roll me into the 19th decimal point, and I can't do that because the language doesn't allow for it. And when we set decimal points, we use it in the code. Like, this is not possible. So again, unless they have something to let them expand, they will wind out, but fuck it, it could easily take like 100, 150 years. I think that's why I want to run some of these economic models, and why I thought of the whole tool, and then figured out how to turn it into a platform, and then thought the idea of let's do it with Trib, which will then drive trade through Trib, which will drive with the floor price of Trib, which will make this thing more valuable. And if we peg the price of the services to real-world cost, in which case, yes, we are fluctuating the buyback price, the buy price that we're offering on Trib, because we're like, okay, we're looking to get MS or MUSD out of this. We're going to work out a process of, we're going to wait a while, but at a certain point, we kind of don't, like, we can't give a shit what the price we're selling back with Trib is. We just have to say, like, look, sorry, we've got to give you a slightly worse exchange rate on Trib, but understand the exchange rate isn't for actual value. Like, we're not taking a cut off the MUSD we're taking. We're just saying, like, look, we're going to buy back your Trib at, like, $1. I know you could go sell it over there and get the MUSD, but we're not giving you $1. We're selling you $1's worth of our market analysis services, you see? So, but understand that, like, the price difference between us and Trib is technically, I don't necessarily want to say $1, but you know what I'm getting at. Like, we'll work that out and be like, okay, look, we got real-world expenses. We'll be monitoring the price of Trib that we could sell it for. We'll be monitoring what the floor price is and how that rises. And the whole point being is, we're going to say, look, here's the exchange rate to Trib, understanding that we do have to get fiat out, because unfortunately we can't, like, pay electric bills unless we go with, like, pylons. Oh my god! Pylons! That's where we get the power and the infrastructure to run this thing. We go to pylons and we say, hey, pylons, you're willing to accept crypto. We'll build this on top of Trib, so we still have some access to fiat reliably that we can pay various expenses and taxes with, but we'll work out a deal with you to pay you in some crypto if you'd like, and since you're a solar farm and mining farm, you're self-sufficient, so you can just sell your services in crypto. So, okay, so I need to talk to Trib just to get some help on integrating there, and I think they'll like this enhancement to their product, or building on top of it. They might totally just do it myself, but I don't have to find people to do it. And two, holy shit, this is how we can pay for infrastructure for the charity, because I just talk to pylons and say, like, look, can I just pay you in crypto, and we work out some, like, I'm going to have this whole profit-generating machine over here that does various analyses and other services for you guys. Can I just pay you pylons in crypto to build out the self-sustaining renewable energy farm for us? And, like, I don't think it necessarily have to be all solar. I think we'll have to supplement some other things. But the point being is, can I just pay you guys to do that? And we'll just, you know, we'll expand this out. We'll have more liquidity pools that we'll run through. We'll start with Trib. We'll move on to others. Fuck it. We'll do pylons too. We'll build out with a few other... I'm going to do it myself, but I need help. I'm not giving the idea away. I'm just going to these people because I'm like, look, hey, pylons, first off, I got this idea to generate revenue to pay you to build out infrastructure that I would like to use, and very likely you can realize enough profit to build your own infrastructure. Before I go off with developing all this, can I cut a deal with you in advance to say, yeah, we can definitely do that, and then I can put that in the pitch to everyone else, and then further, can also get some integration with them and be like, hey, what can we do with your tokens, our tokens, how can we iterate on things, how can we make this better and more sustainable? But I really do want an EFI token in there, so fuck it, we can throw in a bunch of EFI tokens and help with that, and if we tie EFI token, oh my god, if we take... we'll integrate with all of these things. We will also come out with our own EFI token that is operating somewhat akin to, oh my god, we make an EFI token that operates somewhat akin to Trib, and that's our primary utility token. We're willing to take a bunch of other stuff. We kind of don't give a shit what you pay us in. Oh my god, that's even better. I don't care what you pay us in. Look, we've got our token. We start our yield farming with our token, because, duh, we need some shit to get off the ground, but as we advance, fuck it, we'll take anything from you damn near, and based on what it is, we'll figure out what the hell it's worth, and what we can do with it, And based on that, we'll probably have to have you select, honestly. I don't think we can have it as simple as like, oh, we just figure it out. But like, we can have that selection and keep adding on things to say, okay, look, you tell us what you want to buy the service in. We'll take that payment in damn near fucking anything. Don't really give a shit at this point. We'll just figure out the price and figure out like, okay, it actually costs us this much in real world money that we have to pay for. It costs us to pay this much to pylons to do it. Oh, wow. And then you can pay us on almost anything, and that just kicks off our whole process. We're like, okay, great, pay us, and then we're going to go do this, and we're going to deposit there. And I actually just thought of a wonderful way for people to donate to the charity, and then the charity... Oh, my God. That's what we can do with your donations from the charity. Because we can trade, we can do stuff. Like, we operate as a business, basically. We just can't realize a profit, and we have to serve the community. But if we either have this service that says, look, donate whatever you want, this is how we're going to manage your donations to keep generating revenue for the charity to keep doing things, and here's the method by which you can vote for that. So it doesn't have any real value. Like, this thing itself isn't necessarily an asset because you're not really realizing any profits from us. Like, everything we're doing with these tokens, we're not actually giving you any profits. But we're setting up an entire marketplace and economy that if you want to jump in on any of the liquidity pools, any of the other stuff, any of the farming, trading the token on the market, like, that's all up to you guys. We just have a solid exchange rate that we say, okay, donate to us through these mechanisms. When you donate to us, we will get that back. Now, mind you, that's where we'll have to say, well, thank you very much for saying have a good day. I appreciate that. Tips, please. Doge needs treats. I'm fucking broke because I just paid lawyers a bunch of fucking money to incorporate the charity. Paperwork's in process. I'll be coming back with an EIN to prove that to everyone, which will mean you may or may not realize that I have doxed myself in this case, because I may be the director in this, maybe I'm not. Your wild guess. But I think you can see what I'm saying is, like, when I do release that, everyone's going to know who the fuck I am. So it's gonna happen. I gotta be the legal entity. I gotta do this. So you'll find out eventually when I have that done. Congratulations. Everyone's been wondering what this dickhead is. You're not gonna be like that impressed, honestly. I'm not that like crazy or amazing of a guy. Anyway, it's not like a big surprise. But anyway, in that case, so yeah, can build this out. Yeah, I can do the whole thing. I can run through. It's a way the charity can generate profit. We can make it very clear. Like, look, we've got. Oh, yeah, so long as we work out a mechanism to say, okay, either you can, yeah, that would be, I think that's the way to make it a real donation. I'd have to talk. We might need to adjust it slightly, but yeah, that's where I think I think we have our own token and we accept donations for that token. I think this is a thing. I think this legitimately is a thing where, provided we do work to generate that, but I think if all of the, like, we're funneling all the revenue that comes from this market platform and this method of generating traffic and everything and this generated automated arbitrage bot to say, okay, well, we're going to turn around and just turn that into revenue for the church. I think, yeah, and since we have a set price. Oh, yes, that's how it works. Okay, so we're going to have a set, well, not set price, but we are going to have a correlated price on what it costs to donate to us, because we'll be making it very clear to say, look, we do have to pay operating expenses. We can't provide this service to you without covering those operating expenses. So here is the value rate, the price scale of how much this market analysis service costs, but you can send us anything you want. And so that way, if you do want to make a tax-deductible donation, then you can indicate, yes, here is the transfer, here's what I'm authorizing to actually cover the cost of the service. This is we're breaking even in this regard. That's not turning a profit for us. So we'll literally just charge you straight, cost of running the platform. We'll buy it from you for this. If you'd like to make a tax-deductible donation in addition to paying the cost for us running the service, because we have to, then you can also put that in and we'll quite happily take all of that. That way, you guys could get the service, and if you want to get the tax deduction, you could throw some on top, and then we can run that through the entire system and stick that whatever revenue we can generate in the charity treasury, and then you guys can come back with those tokens that you could buy, because anything you give us, we're just putting right back out on the market with Liquidity after taking a cut and putting that in the treasury. And then we can pile up a treasury of, like, all the fucking tokens out there, whatever we want. We're just figuring out the price, and we'll just build up everything. So if you've got, like, 10 bazillion shit coins for some reason, and that technically is worth, like, 1/1000th of a cent, we'll do the math and figure that out and be like, okay, we'll take your shit coins for you, and then we'll go put them in the market, because we kind of don't give a shit. Because if you can buy shit coins and pay us for services in shit coins, then eventually we're going to drive up the price of shit coins, And we kind of don't give a crap if somebody dumps again. Because they're like, okay, so you dumped. That drove down the price of the shit coin. Alright, and? Like, I needed to buy a certain number of them to hit the cost threshold of the service, so I kind of don't give a shit that you've done that. Because they've set a price. They're saying, like, look, we're always willing to buy anything provided we can get basically we'll just correlate it to the US dollar. I'm not thrilled about that, but it's like, look, it's the easiest thing in the real world to figure out revenue and how much everything costs. So yeah, we just do this, like, look, we're willing to buy damn near anything, and we'll just correlate it to the US dollar because we're a charity and we got shit to pay for that doesn't take crypto. But otherwise, you guys can vote on which ones we'll take. We'll have to figure out the price, and thus we can add the integration and say, yep, we're perfectly willing to take your shitcoin now. And we've doing it in such a way that we, like, don't give a crap that maybe there's some scammer out there with a crap ton on their wallet. Because, like, what are they going to do? Dump? Okay, great, you dumped. Then what? Well, so the price dropped. Cool. We don't give a shit that the price dropped. We just need a certain amount to make it $1. So if you guys want to be able to do that, like, great, price dropped. I'm just going to go buy the dip and snap those up, and then I'm going to go trade those over here on the trading platform, and they're willing to accept them at whatever it costs for $1. So, like, yeah, I just had to buy $1 worth, or $10, whatever package it is, whatever level it is to get a certain number of transactions. Like, I just have to get that. So it doesn't really matter, really. Yeah, no. At this point, in this process, you don't give a shit if someone dumps, because if it drives the price down, you're like, okay, well, that just means I need more, but I'm trying to shoot the price it takes to operate this platform. So I don't really give a crap that this... Okay, alright. Oh, wow. Okay. Alright, cool. I'm gonna have to build that. So anyway, like I was saying, back to the point here. Go tell people. I gotta talk to the Trib guy. I gotta talk to a few people. I'll probably talk to MythX, too. That'd probably be a big one. Oh, yeah, I gotta talk to MythX. Alright, anyway, that'll get to it. So, point here. We were doing the point. I want to wrap up because I got other things to get back. I was intending this to be quick. So, I am a token. I want to generate initial liquidity because I need funding to support things. And I actually think, oh my god, guys, holy shit, this is a thing that can be launched. We'll still do the donation platform. We'll still give out the NFTs free. We'll have the whole thing I'll reveal later on. I want to save that for the stream, so surprise. We got this whole gamification model with the NFTs. It should not introduce any sort of problems with taxes. It will be tax deductible because we are a church, and you can make tax deductible donations to a church under the U.S. tax code. Sorry, we're in the U.S. That's all that matters. We'll take donations for anywhere, but, like, that's up to your jurisdiction if they give a shit. And further, oh, wow, then... We'll still do that, still have a nice gamification model around that. So you guys want to engage. Also, our target is to do that Saturday. So Saturday stream, heads up guys, Saturday stream, we'll do a demo of our proof of concept of phase 1 of our auditable library, show that operating, and in that time we will begin taking donations and giving you a NFT. It's not going to be a normal NFT. Going to do some weird things that I don't think you've entirely seen before. I don't know of another NFT that is exactly doing things like this. And it's actually going to have useful data in it. So that's where, like, we're going to build this up and so on. So yes, thank you. It does help. It has already helped. It has helped me cover the incorporation costs. It has Yes, I am a token. Actually, yes, I'm planning on. All right, so alpha tip, the tokens are going to be sold, are going to be given out as gifts for limited time. So every time we do a demo, which after this coming Saturday should be every 2 weeks, part of our demo will be showing the next phase of the project. And we should only have like 2 or 3 of those, but we're going to have a lot of work to do, so we'll just keep this process up as we go through and show the demos, because I really want to demo off everything we're doing so you guys see that we are working and you are going to get value out of all of these donations. But yes, as we go through, where the NFTs are going to be commemorating the members of the team that have worked on this. And so we're starting at the beginning with the first folks. I want to give proper credit to Jeff, because the church I'm in is incorporating to help us kick this off the ground, so you guys can have, so we can have the legal structure to provide that assurance and protection to you guys. And eventually I'll be an anon then, because maybe I will. Maybe I'm on the paperwork, maybe I'm not. You don't know, but yeah, I kind of am, obviously. Even though I'm trying to tell you I'm not, like, what are you going to do? Like, yeah, okay, how much trust in a nonprofit where you're not in charge? So anyway, so what will we have to do to get the NFTs? Let me clarify. So that is where Saturday our plan is. I have not announced this totally because we need to do our work tomorrow or later this morning to confirm that. In fact, I need to wrap this up because I got a meeting to get to in an hour with Jeff. So I want to take this as, please understand, not a commitment yet for Saturday. We are doing work this morning. When we do that work, we will know exactly where we stand, and thus I will be able to make an announcement later today on that schedule, and thus can let you know. But the plan is, and we're on track for it and seem to have all the progress, is that we have a gamification model where we will demo our auditable library showing the process, where we will put out the donation platform, and the donation platform will give you an NFT as a gift for the donation. Now again, understand that because of how NFTs operate and the fact that they have to be minted one by one, the transaction fee is fairly high. It's kind of like the synthetics platform. It's kind of like Trib. It's just an issue with the protocol. Sorry, nothing we can do about it. And that money isn't coming to us. We'll try to make that very clear. But in this case, when we mint that to you, you will have your own little commemoration of that you donated. And you were able to get it on the ground floor, because when we come around to the next demo, we'll change the NFT that the donation platform will mint and provide you as the gift for your donation. And so there will only be that 2-week period where you're able to redeem or get that token. After that, you cannot get it anymore. But I have a gamification model around that to encourage people. So when you buy the token, because I don't want anyone falling prey to the Oprah effect, it's not the Streisand effect, it's a bit different. If you remember when Oprah gave all those people cars, problem is the IRS still considers gift taxable income. And so if you get a gift over a certain amount, you have to pay tax on it. If you're a broke motherfucker because you don't do any work and you watch Oprah and have time to go to visit her fucking show in the middle of the goddamn day because you don't do much of anything useful, and she gives you a car, then she gives you a luxury car, like a nice fucking car, you can't afford the taxes on that car because she gave you a car. Like, okay, I give you a $50,000 car. Great, you just had $50,000 worth of income. You now need to pay tax on that. You're like, but I make $30,000 a year. Okay. Well, we don't give a shit. You just got $50,000 worth of income. You need to pay tax on that. So I want to avoid that happening. So I've hit on a recommendation that if we gift you because again, this works with the donation. If you receive a gift for making a donation, I'm telling you the point here when you can get it. So again, it should be Saturday. If you make a gift of getting a donation, this is middle of the night, so pro tip to everyone, alpha tip, what's coming up. Maybe you can go spread some rumors and tell people. When you get the gift for giving a donation, if that gift that you receive, like say you got a coffee mug, has any value, then technically you can only deduct the difference between the value of the gift and the donation amount. Well, if I'm giving you an NFT, and that NFT can be traded on the open market, then that thing is an asset and it has value. And if you can trade it, then technically I've given you an appreciating asset because it's rare. Over time, people get popular. I mean, I'm only predicting, maybe I'm being egotistical here, but I'm predicting that if these things were transferable, they would go up in price. and thus you be constantly, like, you made a donation a long time ago for, like, 1 Ethereum, and 3 years down the line, this thing turns out to be worth 200 Ethereum, and you got to pay fucking capital gain, pay your asset accrual. Anyway, whatever the term is in the tax law, you got to pay the tax on that thing going up in price, just like you do with all your other crypto. So it's like, no, I can't let that happen. I don't want to screw people like that, but I have an answer. I know that sounds disappointing. You can't trade it or sell it. I'm sorry, but if I did it as a donate, like, I couldn't accept donations, and if I did that, or if I did accept donations, in the long run, it could really fucking screw you guys if I do that. So I'm trying to look out for you. So the intention is that the token itself will not be transferable. But I don't want you to be disappointed here, okay? What do you have to do to get to... You will, when we do the demo, you will come to the donation platform, you will make a donation to the charity, and we will mint you the NFT, and you will have that. It will technically not be transferable. I hope that's not too disappointing. Let me get through this. What will happen is that tax protection against you guys, so that it doesn't become a liability, is that we will mint... When we mint the NFT, it will go in your wallet. You will technically not be able to transfer it out of your wallet, but the transfer function will work, okay? If you try to transfer it to someone else, so like, you don't need to come to our platform, you just go to MetaMask, transfer it to someone else. What the NFT gift, or I should say receipt, because it's not even a gift, it's just a log that you made a donation, a commemoration of thank you very much, here's a badge, you are one of the cool ones, you got into the ground floor. And you didn't, like, believe all the stupid shills and fuds lying about me. And you accept that I'm kind of an asshole, but I'm a well-meaning asshole, which I really appreciate. So in this case, we can say, all right, so you have this. As incentivization, what you can do, we can't help you use the process because we're a charity, so I'm sorry, cope. But you're trying to promote the charity, you're trying to help us out. So if you go, like, into MetaMask and you try to transfer, it's a normal token, or it looks like a normal token, it kind of acts, it claims it's going to act like a normal token, so you can use any normal wallet to transfer it freely. You don't have to come through our platform. You try to transfer this thing, it mints another NFT that has embedded in it information, and we'll try to get that set up with, like, MetaMask and show that in the assets there. Try to get that set up with OpenSea to show those things. But the intention is that you will get a different NFT with information on how to come to our donation platform. Now, when you send out the referral, we'll keep track of which wallets you referred to, because we can, and everything's on the blockchain, so fuck it, why not? And we'll keep track of a leaderboard, a tally of how many referrals you sent out. Because you're going to have to pay the transaction fee to send that out. Like, we understand that, we want to respect that, you're spreading the word. Unfortunately, that cost has to come out of your pocket, because that's how the minting process works. We're trying to make it as efficient as possible, so that it costs very little, but unfortunately, that's just the tech. But if you're willing to take on that cost, if you're willing to volunteer and do that, then we want to respect that, and we're going to have a very, like, prototype reputation system for the charity and the church to say, if you transfer this out to someone, they'll get a referral NFT that will give them information to come back and donate to us. We'll keep track of who you referred that to. We'll keep track that you sent out a referral, so thank you very much for that. Then, if that person follows that information in the NFT and comes back to us and makes a donation, then we'll sell them the same NFT that you referred them through. So even after we switch NFTs, you can become the market. Like, we'll stop minting the NFTs and stop taking donations for them. But now you guys have control of that. You can transfer it out, you can do whatever you want. So if you, like, I can't assess that it's going to be a market, but, like, you could mint these things and give them away. And so that way, you then can send out the referrals. So long as you have one of these, then you can always start sending out the referrals there, and I'll try to work out that way to say, okay, then they can come back and, like, donate through the token back to us. Say, okay, send the referral to them, and then through the token in the referral, not only can they come to our donation platform, but they can also donate directly through the... Actually, maybe not. I think I like the limited time. I think we'll keep the limited time. I apologize. I'm kind of hypothesizing there. So we'll just have the limited time. Let me know if you think of something in the chat, which one you like. I have to work out that. But yes, that point of you send them back to the donation platform, they donate, they will, when they donate, they'll get, at the very least, when they follow that donation, they'll get the NFT that you sent them. Hopefully, we'll work out on the code there. We have like 3 weeks to figure that out. And when we go through the next one, there'll be a new NFT. So then we could tell them like, okay, look, if you want to get the NFT that you refer to, you can do the donation. We'll give that to you. And if you want to do another donation, then we'll give you the latest NFT. I think I like that. That'd be a case. And that way you guys can control how far this goes out. And you can keep driving that along. And if you want to expand out, like, it's up to you then. How scarce is this original point? How many people do you want in on the Cool Kids Club? I think after we change the NFT, we'll actually have that next one that they sell out. We'll put a little indicator to say, like, okay, they weren't here for the time it came around the first time, but we'll sell them the, like, later degraded version of this thing. Or we'll gift to them the later degraded version of this thing to say, like, okay, thank you very much. We'll help you catch up and finish your collection. But technically, you're not one of the cool kids, because the cool kids have the original one. They've got the gold foil version, basically. Alright, so cool. Then we'll keep iterating through this, keep doing NFTs that commemorate the different members of the team. So yes, there will be a Coyote NFT. I'll leave it to you guys. I would like to give Jeff one first. After first Church, then I think Jeff, then I think me. Up to you guys if you want to move that around, but we can add that in anticipation. He's done a lot of heavy lifting, and we want to commemorate that. Again, pardon. But that's where I'm doing that. Again, I hope you can see nice, fun process, and then through the referral process of sending out the reputation process of tracking you, sending out referrals, and converting them to donators, then we can have an entire leaderboard of reputation that we can come back to and say, okay, well, first off, this stuff is transaction logs and receipts for everyone that's donated to the charity. And we can see that the transaction fees that they spent to send out the referrals, so technically because the money you're spending for sending out the referrals, and because that's a actual, like, transaction expense, not something that anyone's making up, now that I think about it, technically by keeping this log, when you send out the referrals, that itself acts as a tax deduction. We're not getting the money, but you are having to pay money to benefit the charity. So in a weird way, it's kind of an automated process. So effectively, you kind of become a donation platform where it's like, look, we're not getting that money, but we understand you're spending money, and by sending out the referral, that does kind of help us. So I would say that so for every referral that does convert over, I'll have to talk to a lawyer, I'm pretty sure this would be the case, every referral that does convert over, that might be something that we could deduct from your taxes. I'm not sure that's actually realizing profits. We'll have to hold off on that, so don't do that on your taxes yet. We'll figure that out and get a lawyer in place. But the more money we get, the better lawyer we can hire, and the better we can try to structure this. But yeah, we'll sell those limited time NFTs. You can have it to commemorate the process. So cool. Anyway, I've been seriously distracted from things, so I want to come in here because I can finish this up real quick. So when looking through here, and you're trying to pick a coin, and again, comment if you got anything to say about my idea. If you think it's silly, stupid, you think it's good, you have any improvements on that, I'll take that. I'll totally take that feedback, and I'll totally take the tips to help out. But that is where the main point here with the possibility, like, what would I want to do if I was trying to do something like YFMS, YF Beta, Yeld is coming through our process. So in all these cases, like, what if I want to do if I want to have staking rewards? Well, what I'd probably want to do is not just pick the popular pairs. And I see a lot of projects do this. And it's interesting, but it's like, I think you're making a rookie move, guys. So, when you look across many, I think technically Unicat just ended, but let me see. We should still be able to see their farms, and I think they were an example one of like, you're fine, but I think you made some fucking rookie moves here. I'm not entirely sure. God damn it, I need to figure out what is eating up all the processing power on my computer. It's getting dog shit slow, and there's no good reason for it. I think some of the others, which one is it? give me a good yield farm that you like, guys. I think Devil Finance might have been one that had some of these. And again, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just throwing out there as like I'm calling them off the top of my head and I'm pulling them up to double check. And again, this is what I want to offer is like I'm not condemning them. They're still fine. They're perfectly viable. IRS might not like that. Any chance that could be considered a security? In this case, how it's not a security because you're not, like, what are you securing in this case? You made a donation and we gave you an NFT as your receipt. That's it. And built into the technology of the receipt is an ability for you to pay a transaction fee that is required by the protocol. So it's not going to us. So it's not profit. It's not going to, like, anybody else. Like, sorry, you just... Essentially, this is equivalent to saying, oh, yes, to help the... as I'm interpreting, it would be akin to saying... yes, to help the charity that I like, I'm going to go buy a bunch of paper. I'm going to take that to, like, you know, a printing place. I'm going to have a bunch of flyers printed up, and then I'm going to go spread around those flyers. And you're like, okay, so what? Like, big deal, you know? So, audits with a coin that you have a position in is already compromised your stand. Okay, well, to be clear, I haven't been auditing this. So, to be clear... Sorry, somebody was posting there. To be clear there, since somebody brought it up in Discord... So yeah, I have disclosed this several times. So there we go. Like, sorry, somebody just bringing it up in the YFS Discord, and I thought I should respond to that. Is like, you know, if conflict of interest is your concern, then the fact that you are performing any audits for the coin given you in a position has already compromised your stance. Nonetheless, if you're uncomfortable commenting on this, on the tokenomics, that's fine. You can hire a different third-party auditor, or have one of my software engineer friends perform the audit. However, he would need the code for the vesting update to be provided at least 24 hours before the next 500 ETH is supposed to be released. I'm like, okay, great. Then, all right. I'm not holding against your semantic misstep there. So I'm just pointing out, it's like, I'm not auditing, so I don't feel I have a conflict of interest. I feel I have told everyone I'm consulting on this, and I'm consulting merely in an oversight role and a kind of like business managerial role, not financial. Just like, hey, this is what my experience and what investors like to see would be. You know, things like diagrams, reports. Let's work on that white paper and such. And so, like, I got no problem if your buddy wants to, like, I'm not in charge of this. I'm actually, they're my client in the sense that they're telling me what to do. So I'm just telling them what good code is and helping them do a demo on a test to say, because I'm also getting payment in this case, like, yes, I'm getting paid for them for doing this, and I'm getting a practice experience, like a trial market test effectively on what does it look like, how do people react. Does the market like it when I do things like live stream a test before the code is out? And then that's up to you guys, because I've already said I'm not doing audits because I don't consider it an audit until the code's on the blockchain. And I can't safely audit code on the blockchain until my audit library is done. So I'm not sure, Sensei, if you're in the stream here listening, I guess. I also responded to you. This is weird. I'm talking to you guys and responding to a guy in Discord. But yeah, hold on. So, like, if you want to... I should probably ask him if he's watching the stream, because I just answered him here and I didn't want to type that up. Alright, I'll type that up in a moment, so I'll come back to that. So for anyone else is wondering there, like, what's going on, or you hear somebody complain, like, well, wait a minute, how is the auditor getting paid there? It's like, well, I'm not auditing them. They're paying me to give software design advice and some business managerial advice, like what I think, you know, investors would like to see, and I'm not commenting on the finances or what would make profit. So that's where I think I will come back to my point here. I will wrap this up, and then I'll go type that nice reply and explain things, and you guys now know the answer. So pardon there if I bored people with that. Now, in here, this is actually, now that I look at it, this is a reasonable model. So, okay, then, yep, I'll just say, you know, your question. I just did it on stream. Yeah, there we go. So with that, then actually this one's a pretty good model and would serve as a good case. Now it might be a little more selective in which ones I'm picking, but that should generally be okay. So what I would do, because in a model like here, what we have is that technically pretty close. What I would actually be wanting to do is have pairings with my tokens and other tokens only. And that's kind of what's happening here. Like, in most cases, you see, like, okay, it's got, like, their soul token. Like, okay, that's cute and all, but I would actually say what we're really going to do is have everything paired with our tokens. Now, why are we doing that? Well, that's because, and I can go to Uniswap and use it as an example. If you look at the exchange and how it's going, thank you very much, Hatface, for saying that you like the stream. That is very educational, inspirational. I hope that you like that, and I hope that people that are hearing this are happy with my answer on, like, why I don't necessarily consider this a conflict of interest. I actually consider that now my interests are aligned with you guys and the project, because by consulting and giving advice on how to, you know, design this thing properly, let's make sure the tests are done correctly, let's make sure that we're presenting, actually I should say that everything is designed and tested properly, and that we're doing a video to show to everyone, you know, apologize that I insisted on the delay. I'm very sorry for that has impacted the price. I want to make sure that you're getting value for the work out of this, and that you can, you know, the strong hands can understand that, you know, I'm trying to do this in your best interest. I'm sorry that it hurt, kind of like taking off a band-aid or setting a bone. But to ensure that security, no, babe. I welcome questions and reality checks. I will respond in full shortly. All good. It's polite about it too, so it's like, you know, you're polite at least, so that warrants a response, you know. Pardon isn't responding to a guy in Discord, but it's like, he seems like a nice guy. So that's decent enough. Anyway, as I was saying, back to the main point. Alright, so anyway, back to the point here. What I was getting at here is, for example, if we, on Uniswap, let's say I pick up my favorite of Trib, well, not my favorite, but one of the ones I like, and I want to trade, let's say, I want to try to trade YFMS. Yes, I hold YFMS. That shouldn't bother me when, because like I said, I'm consulting, I'm not auditing, and I'm aligning my interests with you, but that's where it's clear, like, you know, I want it to be a successful product because I'm getting paid in this, and that's where. No, he's not pissed. No, he's not pissed, he's not angry, he was just bringing up a point of, like, hey, what are you doing here? Like, well, what is going on with something that you're auditing in those regards? Like, well, let me explain that. Don't say this is an audit. He seems very receptive in that. Yep, and he says, like, wait, you have it, why is that good? I'm like, well, let me clarify. So he seems fine, not really pissed off. So anyway, in this case, for YFMS, if I wanted to trade, alright, so there's nothing there. Let me go ahead and find something else that maybe DAI. I don't think it's paired with DAI. Yep, that's what I'm looking for. So right now, if I wanted to sell my YFMS and I wanted to get DAI, then technically what it would have to do is trade YFMS for wrapped ETH and then wrapped ETH for DAI. Pretty straightforward, right? I mean, duh. There's a liquidity pair pool between YFMS and WETH, and there's a pair between WETH and DAI. Alright, fine. That makes sense. Well, consider this. If we go to uniswap.info, and what if, I mean, maybe I've got partnerships with other coins, maybe I want to incentivize other coins, sure, but if my goal is to just generate profit and to drive up the and try to drive up the value of my token by making it something that actually has buying power, then what I'd want to do, and this might seem somewhat counterintuitive, and a lot of actually most of life is counterintuitively, most of life is counterintuitive. I don't know, you can quote me on that, but like it's, I don't know how else to say it, but like in my experience, it's kind of weird. You'd think that our intuition would be built up such that, you know, we'd have a good intuition about the world, but weirdly we don't. We're not good at calculating statistics. We're not good at doing randomness. We're not good at understanding economics. Like, it's really fucking strange. Anyway, so what I would want to do is come in here and let's say, you know, let's go ahead and replace the ETH pairs that we're seeing here. Let me make that nice and big so everyone can see. So like in this model here, let's say, okay, I'm going to replace conceptually, let's just say, like, I'm going to replace in here the ETH pairs that, or the ETH that are in these pairs, sorry. So in my example here, we can see, okay, there is clearly a lot of activity. I don't even need to look at the trading volume. I can just see, okay, here's the return that's being received. Holy fucking shit, there's clearly a lot of trading volume. I could double check that if I go look at the various pairs. Like if I look at Ghost ETH pair, and I go to volume, boom, I can see that trading volume, and I could check that trend over time, okay? So if I see that, I go, okay, well, there's a fair amount of liquidity, and there's a fair amount of trading volume. So if I look at the pairs and see, well, obviously people want to trade Ghost for YFV. Or sorry, they want to trade Ghost, they want to trade YFV. They also want to trade Cream, they want to trade Meme, they want to trade Curve, Uni, Stake, YFI, YFI2, Link, Bot. You know what, fuck it, we'll just stay only with the things that are 100% on the arbitrage fees or higher. Like, cool, so I can double my money over the course of a year. And if I really am trying to generate proper revenue out of all of this, in that, like I talked about with the marketing platform, then, you know, it's... I just want this thing going forever. Like, the staking rewards never end on the marketing platform. Because it's like, look, could you please just come and contribute to the liquidity pool, and I will give you some of the utility tokens so that you can come use the platform so we can keep this thing going. So, in this case, then, since I know people are going to trade for these, they're going to trade various other things. Well, if I take my pairs and I try to compare and see, alright, so what are people selling and what are people buying? If they're selling and buying, then if I can work out what that exchange rate is, so like right now, this is coming up to say, Ghost is a tiny price, and that's going to be annoying to do the math on. Let me look at YFI, because that's a very high price. So right here, boom. Basically, it's going for 0.01 ETH, or YFI is going for 70 ETH. Okay, cool, 70 ETH. Well, what if, and here's a crazy idea, guys. What if I pair my token with ETH, and I pair my token at a rate lower than YFI? And what if I then offer up a YFI and my token pair? So like, let's just say this Coyote coin, and I say, okay, great. I'm going to have a pair of ETH to Coyote coin, and I'm going to have a pair of Coyote coin to YFI. Now, what I've done, as you saw from the exchange interface, I've created an exchange path for the router. In fact, there it is. We just saw it updated. There's a better exchange rate. All right, so to get to DAI, we actually should pass through USDT, because that gives us the best exchange rate. So then I can say, okay, fantastic. If I have my token paired to other popular tokens to exchange with, you know, things other people want to buy, and I pair my token with other tokens that people commonly trade with, like Ethereum and various other, you know, stable coins, and what the hell, any other coin that I might consider a good exchange rate, if I try to manipulate and maintain that the price of my token will stay under this exchange rate right here, such that I am selling you my token at a good exchange rate to Ethereum, but I am accepting my token to sell you YFI at a better exchange rate. As you see that, it's like, look, I'll give you a great exchange rate on Ethereum to my token, So my token is you know, really worth a lot compared to Ethereum. It's going to have a lot of buying power. And I then on the other side set up the liquidity pool with YFI and my token to have the opposite exchange rate, or even further, then at various points as the price fluctuates, I will have set up a case where the router should notice and go, wait a minute, if you want to trade Ethereum for Coyote Coin, you want to trade Ethereum for YFI, I've actually discovered over here in the router that it's better to exchange the Ethereum for Coyote Coin and then Coyote Coin for YFI. Because Coyote Coin's offering you a better exchange rate on Coyote Coin to YFI over here, and they're offering you a better exchange rate to Ethereum over here. Which means that as the price fluctuates, if you try to keep it at that point, it may seem like you're losing money, but you're actually causing your currency to have greater buying power in the market, because the router will notice that, yeah, I should route through that thing. And if you're doing that, then that people could either just lean on the router and not give a shit, and because the router is automatically driving trades through your coin, then you're going to collect the arbitrage on both sides. Not just one pool. You're going to collect the arbitrage on both sides, and you're going to be adjusting the price on both sides. So you can, like, if you really want to drive up the price of your token, and you really want to, like, collect a lot of fucking Ethereum, actually, don't just try to set the price there. Don't just try to pick tokens that are popularly traded and try to offer that. No. If you really want to bank on, like, collect a shit ton of Ethereum to maintain things, and you want to drive up the real buying power of your token, which may not actually be the price. It may actually be the fact that I don't have to deal with the cost of the router. It's like, why would I buy Coyote Coin? Well, you buy Coyote Coin because if you don't have to go through the router every fucking time, you kind of get a better exchange rate. On top of that, if you don't, I don't need you to give a shit about Coyote Coin. You don't ever have to hold Coyote Coin. None of that fucking matters. I got no interest in you taking that. Instead, what I have interest in is you wanting to spend Ethereum for YFI or YFMS. And what I'm actually getting is I'm trying to maintain the price such that I'm always going to give you that good exchange rate. And thus, yes, you have an interest in buying Coyote Coin unless you have an interest in buying it, because I got a decent exchange rate over here. But over here, I've got a different exchange rate, and so it works out beneficial for you. You're getting a good exchange rate of my coin to Ethereum. You can take my coin over and get a good exchange rate of YFI, or to YFMS, or anything else. But I'm also benefiting, and you're also benefiting, the holders are also benefiting, because the buying power of Coyote Coin is going up, even if the price doesn't seem to be, because most trades are running through that exchange rate, that relationship, hopefully. And thus, it will also kind of raise the price of that. Now, that means that it'll get to a point where it's like, okay, I raised that, and boom, no longer an effective exchange rate, and you kind of stop profiting in that regard, but that's fine, because other things are going to fluctuate, and thus the price charts, the price lines of the various coins are going to start crossing each other, and thus they'll again be profitable to run through mine, because again the value will go down, because it's not being traded in that way, nobody cares directly, and then boom, it'll go back up. And so this way, this is kind of what the intention of Ample and the EFI tokens are. Their whole point is to say, I mean, they're kind of doing these things, but I also realized we could do the same thing with them and have all these various exchange rates. The distinction is, like, I couldn't set that up. Because unfortunately, when people place the liquidity in here, they didn't do that. They didn't think about doing that, and so they just made everything equal, or kind of like, all right, well, it's worth $1, great, we'll do that. I'm like, okay, but you put it in at a certain value. I'm not sure they put it in $1. Like, you put it in a certain value, yeah, the rebates can adjust for that, but, like, honestly, if you made the exchange rate better, so it was like you're selling Ethereum at under $1, then you're going to drive more traffic through there, and so long as you pair it with something else that people might want to buy, and you set that exchange rate a little higher, then, or sorry, and the other way to be like, I will take a little Ethereum and I will give you a lot of Coyote Coin. And on the other side, I will take a little Coyote Coin and I will give you a lot of YFI. And the point being is, like I said, the buying power of my token should go up, the price should go up, it should kind of drag everything else up too, because at a certain point, you know, it's no longer profitable to trade through Coyote Coin, it's now profitable to trade through something else. Now, mind you, this is a theory I've had. I haven't been able to run experiments, and I've had an idea to write a coin to kind of play around with that, but that's also where, like, I'm not sure what to fucking say. So, like, I don't want to say to people, like, hey, I got a thing, and then everyone rushes in to buy in, and I'm like, oops, my theory didn't work. So that's where I need to run some models, and that's kind of why I'm building out the tool, to be able to run the models, and why I was doing that for Trib. I was going to do that for, why we're testing it for, we're trying to build out some of the basic points and do that with YFMS, and so, bam, there we are. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope that's where my recommendation, again, for any project, initially, I gotta do some more tests, but initial theory on this as a recommendation would be, yes, pick good popular pairs that people are trading in and put those in. Realize the profits through, you know, whatever mechanism of buy and burn, whatever coming out of liquidity pools. Farm out your token by all means, but if you're willing, like, if teams are willing to take like 2 or 3 pools and say, okay, we're going to pair other tokens with our pool. We're going to, in this particular pool, unlike elsewhere, we're going to give a particularly good exchange rate. So you can buy this other token relatively cheaply with our token. You might be like, but that's going to drive down the price. I understand. But if we got it on the other side, to say, okay, we're going to give you a pretty good exchange rate. We're going to give you, you know, a lot of our token for Ethereum. And like I said, the router should notice that and go, oh, well, okay, I'm just going to trade through here. Because if I trade through here, I get a good exchange rate to this thing from Ethereum. I get a good exchange rate from that thing to whatever the fuck it is you want to buy. And then it's not a question of like, well, which ones do we have liquidity pools in? It's, okay, well, out of the list, which ones, in the pairs, it's not a question of like, which one should we add to the list? It's like, which one should we care about first? Because the further you extend this, the more pairs you have, the closer to an exchange reserve currency you become. And so, boom, it's off to the races. Is there time for the next YMFS audit, or has this... alright, so, there has not been a set time for the YMFS audit. That's because we're doing our test, and I'll leave it with this, because you know a lot of talking, I got meetings to get to. It's longer than I thought, I ramble. But, for YMFS audit, one, technically not an audit. I am been engaged as a consultant to assist in the software design and testing and basically I'm a QA consultant. I'm verifying that the work functions, and a bit of a business consultant advising them on what I think you guys would like to see and hear as far as presentations, as far as, you know, verification that yes, the product is secure, there's a reason for you to invest, hence my whole idea of let me do the test, let me prepare a video for that. So we're intending this afternoon to do the video, or sorry, not to do the video, to run the tests. Based on the results of the test, I'll be able to tell you guys when I can do the video. If everything's perfect and there's now no more work to do, which it looks like everyone's acting like that's the case, so we should be fine, then we're good. We will pretty much do the video right away and put that out. If there's any work to do, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. We might need to like fix some things in the tests and run and figure it out, because we built out a little bit of a framework to assist in this. It's the prototype of other things, and therefore, you know, we might need to refine things in that regard. But in that case, provided everything tests well, then we can do the video. If not, then we can give you guys an update that yes, it is still in progress. We're estimating this amount of work and time to fix it. We're actually working tomorrow. So kind of the intention of us getting together and doing the tests all together is so that we can we can work on it there. So it's not a matter of like, okay, we'll go back and try again. It's like, great, thank you for doing all the heavy lifting and getting to like, you know, either done or 95% done plays. And then tomorrow afternoon is a working session with the YMFS devs to say, cool, let's now wrap this all up. We'll do our tests, our verifications, then any refinements we feel need to be made, we'll just do that now with you guys. And depending on the timing there, I may not be able to do a video that moment because it could get a little late, but we'll finish that up and then I will get a video out to you ASAP. If that goes according to plan, should be able to have a video for you, like I said, either tomorrow night. Please don't hold me to that. Hopefully Friday, but that's why I said Sunday or Monday, because I wanted to give myself plenty of time and buffer because I have the Audit DAO project work on the code library for auditing, so I can actually get back into swing and doing that properly, and we'll have a demo of our progress on Saturday. And I need to hit that deadline because Team Finance says they'll be ready next week to start integrating with us, and therefore we need to be ready to work with them so we don't hold them up. So that's why I got to be adamant here and hit that deadline. And an Audit DAO I think is valuable to everyone, and I'm trying to serve the whole community here. That is the intent of my charity. So with that, again, final point, my advice on like what should we do with liquidity pools, what should we have for staking rewards. Generally it comes down to see if you can figure out the exchange rate, but that's just a theory. I think it's a good theory, but as you can see, might adjust things. At the very least, when people are trying to buy your token, then you're going to end up with like a reversal in that case where people are like, oh, here, let me sell you my YFI and buy my YFMS. Okay, great. Well, I was giving you a good exchange rate of taking your YFI and giving you YFMS, but now when you want to go the other way because my price has gone up, then it actually turns out the other way. It's like, sorry, you were late to the party. You didn't hold this stuff earlier on. And so because people traded through me in the router, my price has gone up. And because my price has gone up, you now want to buy me. And by the time you come and buy me, whatever you want to sell to me, I actually have a worse exchange rate for you if you want to do that. So if you'd like to, go right ahead. And so by doing that, by setting it that way and letting it happen, you should drive a lot of folks into like not giving a shit about the token, but in the relationship of the price there, and as it shifts from pool to pool and it goes to the rebalancing, that's also where the rebalancing will have a lot more options. You'll be able to end up with a lot more organic and stable price, because as Uniswap is trying to rebalance things, it has more options to be able to do so. So, you know, it can get that ETH, it can get that, you know, Coyote coin, it can get that YFMS somewhere to help fill that out. So again, kind of what's going on there. Anyway, so yeah, that was my point there. Again, I'm not recommending specific coins, I'm not recommending particular points. I'm merely discussing an economic theory that I think will work in DeFi given how Uniswap and a lot of the pools work. I've got some ideas for other points, but they're a bit more complicated, and discovered that some of the tools that are out there, a little shaky on how to handle it, and to be honest, I'm a broke Doge, and I just didn't have the funds to properly run a test with some liquidity. So if I can get some major funds, that's another point. Is to like the charity to run these experiments for you guys. So part of our donations, after we cover the various operating costs, will then be doing various experiments for you guys out in the live market that either will act as kind of like index funds you can invest with. That, you know, we're not selling access as public. We're just doing trades, and if you want to follow our trades, that's your choice. It doesn't cost. We're not getting anything from it. But you can see all of that, and then do various research by like trying to execute trades and manage stuff. So anyway, that's where I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that was educational in those points. Not sure how fast it'll be, but I will try to get this worked up in a proper article about token types and how we need a proper goddamn vocabulary in our industry so we can talk about things. Because, like, great, that's a governance token. Like, are you sure about that? Is that really all it does? And what type of governance token? In fact, I kind of want to add an enforcement on here to say, like, there's governance tokens, and then there's like legally enforced governance tokens, to say, oh yeah, no, this governance token actually has some meaning and some weight to it because there's a legal entity, a corporation behind this, whose charter, pardon, my mic is all messed up, whose charter specifically states that they have to obey the votes of the DAO, which is what why it's taking so long to get Audit DAO set up, why I'm so glad everyone's so patient, and thank you. And we should have the demo for auditing process, the progress that your donations have helped with, a update. Well, you can get the update now, but we'll also be making sure everyone knows that, you know, the process is in place. I do not have the charity EIN for the church that we're using to bootstrap Audit DAO, because Audit DAO is a bit more complicated, because I have to write the charter properly and have to get the irrevocable trust for the code done properly, and that's expensive. And I realized that trying to operate like this without a charity and product was really going to slow things down. Hence, points. So, I think Yeld will have a bright future. That's because, again, I've also been engaged by Yeld to consult with them. But the consultation that we're offering is more akin to a auditing process, where when we're ready for our auditing process, and this is what I actually intend. I've been meaning to like write this up and disclose this to everyone so you can know full in advance. We're intending our auditing process not, I mean, yes, we're clearly going to catch scams and verify stuff, but we'd like to catch them before they ever get out in the world. And so our intention with the auditing process is that you'd engage us with us early in your pipeline. We'd actually go through like consultations, possibly even include some of our students and staff in that to say, okay, we're going to go through with you guys and tell you what the results of the audit will be. And thus, if you want to leave, that's fine. We're also going to tell everyone what we told you the results of the audit would be. So everyone will know what we tell you. So if we tell you, no, this code won't pass our audit, heads up, and then you leave, we're immediately turning around and telling everyone, like, so these people tried to ask us to do an audit, and we said their code is garbage, and they need to change these things before we'd even try going live, and they left. So heads up, boys, I don't know what they're doing, but, you know, they did not agree with this fact that we said this is bullshit, fix it. So we will have that point of giving folks a chance to fix their code to go through the audit. But that's where I think you guys can still get value out of and still trust it, because we're still doing the live code audit off the chain. And so you don't have to trust that we caught something early in private. We're just going through and saying, look, we don't want to waste everyone's fucking time by streaming yet another scam. So how about we help you make sure that's in place? Then we'll deploy that. We'll have our entire safe auditing process live streamed, and we'll archive the videos in a better way so you guys can see exactly what's happening. And so, yes, we did help them design this, but we then were completely transparent and turned around and said, hey, how's this work? You know, are you guys happy with this? And do you like that? Good. Here's our evidence. You guys agree that it should go live. Beautiful. We'll activate it, and now the dev can take control as far as when they open trading by finishing the activation. I'm asking about that as I can see a lot of movements from YF Beta to Yeld at this point. I think, yeah, that might happen. Again, I'm not much of a market speculator, but that's partly because I don't think like a lot of traders. When I see all of these products that are very similar, they just either like added some other feature that another one didn't have, like, okay, they added a buy and burn, or they integrated with another platform. You know, like, you know, this thing talks to M-Stable, this thing talks to Compound, this thing talks to Synthetics. You know, that's a significant change in my mind, you know? And so, yeah, if they're all doing their own little thing, even if someone changes the tax rate, like, well, that's a different product, you know? It's a different tax rate, it's a different burn rate, it's a different whatever. You know, they launched at a different price, so it's got a different price curve. Like, all of this is different. They have a different supply. Like, is like, I would point out, like, is YFV a copy of, I'm not saying you guys are, but, like, the other people's, like, is YFV a copy of Yearn? Well, not exactly. Like, it's the same type of business, but, I mean, honestly, would you, I'm not saying you are, again, but, like, would you say that, like, shit, I don't really do shopping, I don't know stores, but, like, would you say that, like, you know, Walmart and Target are copies? Kind of, but, you know, they also got different marketing, slightly different products, all that stuff. Kind of the same thing here, you know. You're going to pick one over the other, and this is more significant. This is like, well, one, like, YFV talks to Balancer, and Yearn talks to these lending platforms. Well, that's actually a significantly different financial product. Anyway, at least for the yield farming talk, it's handling the Balancers. But my point being is, I can see what you're saying, and I think you're generally right. I'm not disagreeing. I always have a hard time predicting because my general attitude is like, well, that's not what I would do. I'd hold all of them. Like, when it comes along, it's like, well, which one should I get? YF Beta, Yeld, or YFMS? I'm like, yes, how about all of them? How about you just split your assets across all of them? It gives you good coverage. I personally, I haven't talked to YF Beta, and I need to go back to those guys. I tried reaching out to him. Hopefully he'll get back to me. Feel free to poke him and ask him if he wants to. But yeah, like, I would just hold all of them. Partly because, yes, I'm involved in then helping with design, ensuring it's safe, and ensuring you guys get good presentations for the testing and everything. But that's where it's like, you know, you guys can make your own choice. I think that it'd be reason to hold all of them. Just buy it all, hold it. Sure, one's going to skyrocket in price, maybe another two will, maybe not all of them, like, whatever. It's all coverage, and should all turn a profit. And I'm not generally concerned if I don't turn maximum profit, so long as I had good coverage in the market getting to that profit that I was able to realize. But then again, I'm also one of those guys that doesn't bitch about insurance. I don't think insurance is a scam. I don't think it's betting against yourself. I think it's actually an incredibly valuable service, and I highly recommend everyone get all the fucking insurance they can. And if they never have to claim it, just know, like, the peace of mind of I don't have a fucking problem is beautiful. But again, you pick the right insurance company. I'm trying to say they're all good. The concept, anyway. So yeah, that's good. Or rather than pay insurance, just keep a giant bond. Either way. So yeah, with that, I will have to bid adieu. As I said, I have a meeting in about 15 minutes. That's where I'm going to be continuing work on Audit DAO. To be clear, part of the reason why we're not meeting up with YFMS is that real life stuff, our schedules don't sync up to really focus on work until this afternoon. So we'll be meeting with them this afternoon, and we will complete that. Will you do an audit or just a preview? So to be clear, alright, so again, to be clear, I need my code library done in order to do an audit. In this case, we don't have our code library done. And so I can't commit to an audit just yet. Now, we should be demoing our code library Saturday. Now, I've committed to other folks to run through a pipeline. But that is where my code is free and open source. I'm going to post it. If someone like, well, I will speak with them there, but if someone like Sensate's, friend, brother, I don't know what they said, but, dude they know that is software engineer, if, after we do our demo and we put our code out publicly, and it's free and open source with a free license, and they can take it, if they want to take it and then turn around and apply it to YFMS, go right ahead. I'm perfectly content with that. Figure out your fee, run it through, give us feedback on how it operates. Perfectly happy. I have no problem. I would offer up that partly because of the work I've done so far, and maybe Sensei's here to hear this, but anyway, partly from the work that I've done so far, I would agree that yes, if I were to turn around and audit this, probably not a great idea. I have a significant conflict of interest there if I actually do audit it, because I've been involved in the development process. It's not, and I wasn't, and to be clear, I was involved in the development process. Like, I don't consider it a big deal for someone to submit code to an auditor in advance and say, I would like you to audit my code, here is my code, and then the auditor turns around and says, yeah, fix this, or I'd fail your audit, and they go, yes sir, I go fix that and come back, that's fine. I'm kind of doing that here, but since I haven't documented that as our official auditing process, and I haven't been terribly transparent about what we've done, partly because I want to build out a proper platform to be able to give that preliminary preview in a way that doesn't. I also want the market to understand that when we give a preview and say somebody didn't pass that preview, we're not doing an audit on them, but they've gone off and fixed everything. That should be a good sign. It shouldn't. Nobody should be concerned terribly that somebody had to make some changes. Trust me, I have to make changes all the fucking time. Nobody writes perfect code the first time, so. That's why I've been a little hesitant, but again, I'll tell them, as soon as if you're here and you're listening, by all means do it. I'm not a bad guy, all good, cool. Anyway, so, yeah. With that, I got shit I need to get to. Thank you guys, I appreciate it. You're magnificent. I love hanging out with you guys. I'm glad that you enjoy teaching. That is incredibly, I like teaching. I'm glad you like learning. Glad you like me teaching. And I will try to work this up into a small article and put this up somewhere to say, hey boys, think about this stuff when you're buying a token. Because if it's giving you if it's this, governance token, and it's not a, enforced governance token, then I kind of don't give a shit that I'm getting 1,000% APY. Or if their entire tokenomics model just keeps driving the price down, but I get an APY to offset that, no, that's not a stable economy. I want no part of that, thank you. You can go off and do your thing, I don't know, but until your token has utility, until there's, something I can do with it, I kind of don't give a shit about you. No offense, I don't want to do that. I don't want to risk money like that. That means I miss out on crazy moonshots, but I'm waiting for the product, It's I'm sorry, I'm not going to take a risk, and I will miss out on the moonshot because I'm not taking a risk that you don't turn into anything. I'll wait till you turn into something. And I think that's, at least for me, that's what I prefer to do. That, or kind of generally make money off esoteric products, or effectively my long-term savings arbitrage. I know I said I wasn't terribly interested in it, but that's why I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it. I'm just like, I dump funds in arbitrage and lending and forget about them because fuck it, I just don't care about that. I just find it interesting. It's just reliable revenue. Alright, so, cool. Thank you very much if you like the show. Again, pardon me, I'll remind everyone, I am a Doge, I need treats. I will be coming back with the, to be clear, the church incorporation has been paid and is in process. The intention of that, to set the expectation, is to be able to use that, and the fact that we don't have to be as cautious about incorporating the church, we have to be very cautious and make sure they get everything, all the law and legal stuff in place, because the Audit DAO is much more complicated. And so to bootstrap that, my church has agreed to incorporate, form a charity. Our whole point is to basically be a proto-Audit DAO and then hand all of our code over to Audit DAO. We already have in our corporate charter that we are bound to follow through on that sort of aid. We actually define it in a more generalized way, like we're bound to aid in promoting, self-reliance and personal improvement, preferably through the adoption of, education and physical training and decentralized technologies. And the only limitation on that is that it can't, whatever we're doing to aid somebody can't jeopardize the church or the charity, which basically means we can't break the bank on trying to save someone or trying to help them out, but we are bound to help to the best of our ability. Hence, technically everything we do is free, no one will have to pay or anything, and we will have to do that provided we can continue operating. That's all. So, again, tips please, treats, they've all been used. I've been paying lawyers, hence all of that's in place. I will come back with the EIN when that's done. Projection is probably early October, so we should be able to get you the EIN and confirm that yes, we are incorporated, yes, we are a charity, and you can actually verify that online to be absolutely positive that I'm completely kosher. And if you do that, there's somebody on the board, maybe I'm one of those people. Actually, yeah, you kind of know that I'm one of those people because fucking duh, I'm doing all this, and he wouldn't trust anything that, I wasn't. Well, I hope you would trust things that I'm not on that are also good people. But I also know that you wouldn't be thrilled if I wasn't on the board of some charity that I was offering up to you guys. So, surprise! You're going to get to find out who the fuck I am and get a name attached to it. It's not a big deal. I mean, unless you really know some folks in software and or law enforcement and some government jobs, I'm nobody significant. So. And even then, I'm not really significant. It's more just a family name. It's kind of not even really significant. It's known in a few areas. All right. So with that, I will hopefully see you again later today or Friday. Best case, provided the tests all go fine. I see no reason why they shouldn't. And then Saturday, we are planning to have our demo. I will have a confirmation after the meeting that I'm having in a few minutes here, and that is why I need to go. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. All of your tips and appreciation has been very helpful. I really thank you for promoting the tweets and getting more exposure. That is really going to help, and I will get you a firm time on when we will demo the auditable library with the donation platform and the limited time NFT that we're going to to gift out as the receipt for making the donation and be able to explain the whole gamification process there. All right? So, thank you, everyone.